Somewhere beneath the soil you walk on, beneath ancient cities, forgotten deserts, and crumbling stone, lie questions so old they no longer remember the answers. Across continents and centuries, we've unearthed relics that whisper of civilizations far older and far stranger than history dares to admit. Stone structures that defy the tools of their time, symbols carved in darkness with no known meaning, skeletons where no humans should be, and silent ruins standing watch where no record says a people ever lived. Why was a perfectly spherical stone found buried under thousands of years of untouched jungle? What kind of knowledge carved a city out of solid mountain, without iron, without machines? And who or what built structures that align not just with the stars, but with stories told by civilizations oceans apart? Tonight, we wander into the depths of time, not to solve these mysteries, but to feel their weight, their silence, their presence. So sit back, breathe deeply, and let your mind drift. We're about to journey through 3 hours of unexplained archaeological enigmas. Let the past keep you company as you drift towards sleep. Deep in the heart of Russia's Ural Mountains, where the land is thick with pine forests and ancient bogs, there lies a place forgotten by time. It is a landscape both vast and silent, unchanged for millennia. And from this still, primeval earth, something extraordinary was pulled from the mire. A wooden figure unlike anything ever discovered. The SHIGIR idol. Towering at over 5 meters in its original form, this haunting sculpture is the oldest known wooden artifact in the world, more than 12,000 years old. Older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. Carved from a single larch tree felled with stone tools at the end of the last ice age. And yet, despite its age, the idol's surface is strikingly deliberate. It is covered in geometric patterns, zigzags, chevrons, and what appear to be human-like faces, 7 of them, stacked one above the other. Their expressions are solemn, almost mournful. Watching. But what are they watching for? The idol was discovered in 1894 during routine excavations in a peat bog near Kirovgrad. The anaerobic conditions of the bog, low oxygen, low temperature, had preserved the wood in exceptional detail. What was found was no simple effigy. Archaeologists quickly realized they were looking at something deeply intentional, something created by a people we know almost nothing about. Radiocarbon dating in the 1990s gave the idol an age of around 9,500 years. That was already stunning. But new testing in 2018, using advanced AMS dating, pushed the age back even further, to 11,600 years ago, right at the boundary between the Pleistocene and Holocene epochs. It was a time when mammoths still roamed parts of the earth, when agriculture, as we know it, had not yet begun. And yet here stood a monumental sculpture, rich with symbolism, carved with clear purpose. Who made it, and why? Mainstream archaeologists suggest the idol was created by Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, a ceremonial object perhaps, or a territorial marker. Some believe it may have served as a totem, a link between the people and the spirits of the land, or a representation of myths long lost to time. The symbols, those precise repeated motifs, may have been a form of proto-writing, a system of signs used to encode memory or myth. If that's true, the SHIGIR idol would be among the earliest examples of symbolic communication in human history. A wooden Rosetta Stone from an unwritten world. But interpretations diverge. Some researchers note the uncanny similarity between the idol's faces and those found in other ancient traditions, from Neolithic Europe to early Mesoamerican sculpture. Independent development, or something more connected? Could ancient peoples, long before recorded history, have shared a symbolic language across great distances? Others point to the idol's patterns, the zigzags and meanders, as abstract representations of a worldview, a map of spiritual realms, a code for understanding the cosmos. Or could they be something else entirely? There are fringe theorists who propose the SHIGIR idol as evidence of a forgotten civilization, one wiped out by cataclysm or time, leaving behind only fragments. They speak of a culture with sophisticated knowledge, able to carve complex symbols into wood with astonishing precision long before the accepted dawn of organized society. They suggest these signs may reflect not just myth, but mathematics, astronomy, or contact with something beyond their world. Skeptics caution against such leaps. Wood can split in predictable ways, they say. Patterns can be imagined where none exist. And yet, the idol's creators chose one of the hardest, most resilient types of wood: larch. They shaped it with patience and precision, using only stone and fire. And they hid it in a bog where it would remain preserved across 12,000 winters. Was that foresight or coincidence? No written language survived from these people. No great cities, no temples or scrolls. Just this, a towering wooden figure, weathered but unbroken, its meaning sealed in silence. Over the decades, attempts to decipher the idol have ranged from the archaeological to the esoteric. Some see the seven faces as ancestral spirits. Others suggest a celestial alignment, 7 stars perhaps, or a reflection of the Pleiades, so often revered in early sky lore. And still, others return to the bog itself. Was this a sacred site? A place of offerings, of burial, of transformation? Bogs have long been associated with thresholds between worlds, neither land nor water, neither life nor death. Could the SHIGIR idol be a guidepost for crossing? The more we learn, the less certain we become. Each detail unearthed only deepens the enigma. A tool mark here, a shift in grain there. Was the idol meant to stand upright, as some suggest, towering over a sacred grove? Or lie flat, part of a ritual tableau beneath the forest canopy? We may never know. What we do know is this: the SHIGIR idol speaks from a time when the world was raw and changing, when ice still loomed on the horizon, and humans were just beginning to ask the big questions. Where did we come from? What lies beyond death? What governs the sky? And in a cold Russian bog, one tribe carved their answer in wood. Their voice has crossed 12 millennia of silence to reach us, and still it asks, what were they trying to say? Soft fade, pause, music lingers, then transitions into the next segment. Would you like to explore another artifact or deepen this mystery further? And now, we move from the silent forests of Siberia to the parched, surreal landscape of central Anatolia, Cappadocia, a land where geology and history have merged into a living dreamscape. Rolling valleys carved by wind and time, towering stone chimneys, natural monoliths shaped like giant candles clustered across the horizon. Soft volcanic tuff, eroded into forms both alien and familiar. But beneath these strange formations lies something even more astonishing. A vast, hidden world, carved not by nature, but by human hands. Tunnels, endless tunnels, an entire subterranean realm that stretches for miles beneath the surface. Some passages are barely wide enough for a single person to squeeze through. Others open into vast chambers, capable of sheltering thousands, complete with air shafts, storage rooms, wells, stables, and even places of worship. Whole cities, underground. They are silent now, these hidden labyrinths, cool, dry, still. But once, they teemed with life, and their origins remain uncertain. The most famous of these sites is Derinkuyu, rediscovered in 1963 when a resident, remodeling his home, knocked through a wall and found a dark, narrow corridor behind it. What began as a simple household project became one of the most remarkable archaeological finds of the 20th century. By the time the dust had settled, over 18 levels of tunnels had been uncovered, descending more than 200 feet into the earth. Derinkuyu alone could have sheltered over 20,000 people, and it's only one of dozens of similar sites hidden beneath Cappadocia. The question is, why? And who built them? Conventional archaeology suggests these underground cities were expanded in stages, beginning as early as the 8th or 7th century BCE, possibly by the Phrygians, and later modified by early Christians fleeing persecution. They would have served as temporary sanctuaries, refuges during times of war, invasion, or religious strife. The tunnels are clearly designed for defense: narrow entrances, hidden access points, rolling stone doors, massive circular blocks that could seal off passageways from within, clever ventilation shafts that remained hidden at ground level. These were not simple hiding places, they were engineered. But here's where the mystery deepens. Some scholars argue that the tunnels may be far older than previously believed, much older. The soft volcanic rock of Cappadocia is easy to excavate, but hard to date. Without inscriptions, organic remains, or durable artifacts, estimates can vary wildly. Some researchers have suggested that the first stages of excavation could reach back to the Bronze Age or even earlier. If that's true, then these underground cities may predate written history in the region. They may have been expanded and repurposed by multiple cultures across thousands of years. And yet, the earliest builders remain unnamed. Was there something they were fleeing? Something they were preparing for? Mainstream historians suggest practical reasons: protection from raiders, from extreme weather, from invading empires. But others wonder, was it something else? Some point to ancient legends that speak of a time when the sky was dangerous, when fire rained down from above, or when great beasts roamed the surface. Could the tunnels have originated during some forgotten cataclysm? A refuge not from armies, but from something larger: environmental collapse, cosmic impact, myth. Even Plato, writing about the lost city of Atlantis, tells of a civilization destroyed in a single day and night. Other global traditions speak of times when survivors fled underground, waiting for the earth to calm. Could such tales hold fragments of memory? And then there are the theories that step even further into the speculative. Some claim the tunnels were not for hiding, but for initiation. That their winding, claustrophobic paths were meant to disorient, to bring seekers face to face with darkness, solitude, and the unknown. A descent into the womb of the earth before rebirth. Others ask whether the layout of the tunnels holds meaning, that perhaps they reflect star charts or ley lines, that their architecture may encode more than just function. There are even those who suggest contact with otherworldly beings, visitors from beyond the stars, who either inspired or directed the creation of such shelters. These ideas, while unproven and often controversial, reflect a recurring theme: that ancient people may have known something we've forgotten, or remembered something we've dismissed, yet the truth remains hidden, buried beneath centuries of stone and silence. Today, many of the tunnels are open to visitors. The air is cool and dry, unchanged by the world above. As you walk through them, it's hard not to feel the weight of the past, the scratch of stone tools on ancient walls, the soft murmur of thousands who once waited here, in the dark. Were they simply hiding, surviving, or were they protecting something? We don't know. The tunnels offer no clear answers, no inscriptions, no declarations, just walls, carved with purpose, leading deeper into the earth, and perhaps deeper into the human story. Because these tunnels aren't just architecture, they are memory. Memory etched into the bones of the planet. A reminder that long before us, long before skyscrapers or satellites, there were people who looked at the sky and decided to go underground. The camera pans slowly through a narrow corridor, light flickering along the stone. A pause. And so we ask, what were they hiding from? Or what were they waiting for? Ambient tones swell slightly and fade. Shall we continue our descent? The echo of Cappadocia's stone corridors fades, replaced by the distant rhythm of waves. Gentle surf rolls across shingle. A soft wind moves through salt-heavy air. As we rise from the depths of the earth, we find ourselves on the edges of another mystery. This time, not beneath stone, but beneath the sea. Along the shifting shorelines of Britain, from the wind-battered beaches of Wales to the tidal flats of East Anglia, the tide sometimes pulls back to reveal something strange, a glimpse of another world just beneath the sand and surf. Dark, ancient tree stumps, root systems, peat-blackened trunks preserved in the cold, oxygen-starved sediment. A forest submerged beneath the sea. They appear for only a few hours at low tide, like ghosts of a forgotten landscape, then vanish again beneath the waves. These are the submerged forests of the United Kingdom, silent, petrified witnesses to a time when the sea was not here at all, when vast woodlands stretched across what is now the seabed, home to animals, humans, and lives we can only imagine. Most of these ancient forests date back to the Mesolithic period, around 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, a time before cities, before the written word, when early humans hunted red deer in the shadow of towering oaks and elms, and the coastline of Britain looked nothing like it does today. Because back then, Britain was not an island. It was part of a vast, fertile landmass known as Doggerland, a sweeping expanse of plains, rivers, and forests that connected Britain to mainland Europe. This lost landscape stretched beneath what is now the North Sea, linking East Anglia to the Dutch coast, Denmark, and beyond. It is hard to picture now, a sunlit green world where fishing communities and nomadic tribes once moved freely, a place rich with life. And then, it vanished. Over millennia, as the last ice age receded and glaciers melted, global sea levels rose. Slowly, year by year, the ocean crept inland. Valleys filled, rivers widened, and eventually the forests were drowned, trapped beneath mud and water, sealed in time. But this story, as with so many others in deep history, may not be so simple. Mainstream science tells us this was a gradual process: glacial melt, rising tides, changing coastlines. A slow submergence over thousands of years. Yet some researchers have begun to question whether all of it was so gradual. What if, somewhere along the way, something changed suddenly? There is geological evidence suggesting parts of Doggerland may have been catastrophically affected by the Storegga slide, an enormous undersea landslide off the coast of Norway, which triggered a massive tsunami around 8,200 years ago. The wave would have swept across the North Sea, flooding low-lying areas in minutes. If this event struck Doggerland, as some believe, it may have been the final blow, turning fertile plains into seabed in a matter of days. Was this the moment when the forests were abandoned? When entire communities vanished beneath the tide? We do not know, but the remnants remain. At Borth, along the Welsh coast, the sea reveals the stumps of ancient oak and pine trees at particularly low tides. They are blackened by age, but still rooted where they once stood. Nearby, archaeologists have found human footprints, preserved in layers of peat and silt. The footsteps of a child walking across what was then firm, forested ground, now a beach. And at Happisburgh, on England's east coast, even older footprints have been discovered, dating back over 850,000 years. The oldest known human tracks found outside Africa. a reminder that these shifting shores have been home to people far longer than we once believed. Yet, we still know so little about them. No settlements have been found, only tools, bones, footprints, fragments of story, and silence. Why were there so few attempts to record or remember what was lost? Did the people of that time try to preserve their knowledge, their myths, their warnings? Is it possible that the memory of Doggerland's submergence lives on, not in stone or writing, but in legend? Some researchers have suggested links between the flooding of Doggerland and later flood myths, like the story of Cantrair Gwaelod, the Welsh Sunken Hundred. A once great kingdom drowned by the sea, its bells still said to ring beneath the waves. Others point to parallels in Norse and Celtic mythology, where lands are swallowed by water and ancestors are driven into exile by the rising sea. Could these be echoes of real events, fragments of cultural memory passed down through oral traditions for thousands of years? And then, as with many mysteries, speculation reaches further. Some fringe theories suggest that Doggerland was not just a settlement, but a lost civilization, a prehistoric Atlantis, a place of unknown technologies and vanished wisdom. They ask, how much can we really know if the evidence now lies beneath meters of sediment and water? There is no proof of this, no temples, no cities, but the scale of what lies beneath the sea is vast, larger than many modern countries. Much of it remains unexplored. Today, marine archaeologists use sonar and sediment cores to map the ghost terrain of Doggerland. Riverbeds, hills, ancient shorelines. But it is slow, delicate work, and the sea continues to reclaim what it once devoured. And still, the forests sleep beneath the waves. Dark, silent, preserved, a frozen moment in deep time. So we ask ourselves, what else lies hidden beneath the tide? What stories have been swallowed by the sea, waiting for their moment to be revealed? Soft tide sounds linger. The camera hovers over stumps emerging at low tide, mist curling around them. A quiet pause. If the sea could give back its secrets, what forgotten worlds would rise? Music fades gently, inviting us to drift onward, into the next layer of mystery. Would you like the next segment to explore another submerged site, or shift to a different kind of archaeological enigma? Beneath the golden sands of SAQQARA, one of the oldest and most sacred sites in ancient Egypt, lies a necropolis older than the pyramids themselves. Here, weathered tombs rise from the desert like broken teeth, shadowed by the step pyramid of Djoser. The air is still, heavy with dust and history. In 1936, amidst the ruins of the mastaba of Prince Sabu, son of Pharaoh Anajib of Egypt's first dynasty, archaeologist Walter Bryan Emery unearthed something strange. A shallow, dish-like object, about 61 centimeters in diameter, just under 10 centimeters tall. Its appearance, at first glance, might seem unremarkable, but a closer look reveals something entirely unexpected. 3 curving lobes, evenly spaced, radiating from a central hub, a shape unlike anything found before or since in ancient Egypt. This is the SABU disc, a single piece of meticulously carved schist, a fragile and flaky metamorphic rock that crumbles easily under pressure. And yet, the disc is thin, symmetrical, balanced, as though made not by hand, but by machine. But how, and why? Mainstream Egyptologists have debated its function for decades. Some suggest it was a ritual object, perhaps a kind of incense burner or a symbolic offering plate. Others speculate it may have been the stand or base for a piece now lost to time. Practical uses are proposed as well: a part of a lamp, a vessel for sacred oils, or even a fruit bowl. But none of these explanations sit easily with the disc's form. Its shape is aerodynamically precise. The 3 lobes curve gracefully, almost like the blades of a turbine, or the vanes of a pump impeller. There are those who have noted how closely the disc resembles modern mechanical components, objects designed to rotate, to channel air or fluid, to move with speed and precision. And yet, it was carved by hand, over 5,000 years ago, in schist, a stone so brittle, modern sculptors avoid it. So how did ancient artisans achieve this? What tools did they use? What methods? There is no chisel work visible, no hammer marks, only smooth, sweeping contours, perfectly balanced, impossibly thin. Some argue this is simply the work of exceptional craftsmen, pushed to their limits by religious duty or royal commission. But others are not so sure. Could it be that the disc is a copy of something older? A reproduction, in stone, of a once functional object made from metal, or even a material now lost to history? Was it symbolic or technological? This is where the mystery begins to deepen. Alternative theorists, while often dismissed by the academic mainstream, have proposed provocative interpretations. They point to the disc's resemblance to parts used in centrifugal pumps, flywheels, or energy storage devices. Some have even suggested the disc was once part of a larger, unknown machine, now scattered, buried, or erased. But if that were true, what kind of machine? And what civilization would have possessed such knowledge? There are no records, no hieroglyphs describing the object, no other examples in Egyptian art or architecture. It stands alone. Was it an artifact of utility or of symbolism? A part of a lost mechanism, or a sacred relic whose meaning we no longer understand? Skeptics rightly point out that it's easy to project modern understanding onto ancient forms. The SABU disc might only look mechanical to our eyes, trained to recognize turbines, fans, and rotary tools. Perhaps its shape was purely aesthetic or spiritual. But even if we set speculation aside, the fact remains. The disc defies easy classification. And there's something else. It was found not in a royal temple or engineering workshop, but in a tomb, buried with the remains of a prince, a place of reverence, of belief in the afterlife. Was the disc intended to accompany Sabu on his journey to the next world? And if so, what was its purpose there? Might it have symbolized motion, energy, or flight? Could it have represented some now-lost cosmological idea? A vision of the soul's movement through time and space? Or is it possible that it once served a very practical function, but to a people whose capabilities we have yet to fully comprehend? The ancient Egyptians achieved architectural and artistic feats that continue to astound engineers today. Their tools have largely vanished, their methods only partially understood. What else might they have known that we've forgotten? The Sabu disc rests now in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. It sits quietly behind glass, watched by curious visitors, studied by researchers, photographed, modeled, speculated upon. But it says nothing, offers no clues, only its form, elegant, alien, enduring. Some mysteries whisper, others demand to be solved. The Sabu disc does neither. It simply is, as if waiting. The camera lingers on the disc. Light catches its curves. A hush falls. What mind conceived it? What hand shaped it? And what story does it carry? In silence. Ambient tones rise softly again as the screen begins to fade. We continue now, deeper into the shadows of time, where more riddles await. Would you like the next segment to explore another Egyptian mystery, or shift to a different ancient culture? SAQQARA stretches wide under the desert sky, an ancient necropolis older than memory itself. A place of ritual and rebirth, where priests once walked among pyramids and mastabas, and where the dead were entombed for eternity beneath stone and sand. For centuries, this vast burial ground has yielded wonders, statues, sarcophagi, scrolls, but it has also given rise to enigmas, and among the most curious of these is a tomb, discovered in 2018 that does not belong to a man or a god, but to something else entirely. It was beneath the sands near the Step Pyramid that archaeologists, working under the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, opened a chamber sealed for over 2,600 years. Inside, they found something wholly unexpected. Dozens of animal mummies, cats, birds, crocodiles. This was not unusual. Animal cults were a major part of Egyptian religious life during the late period, and countless animals were bred and mummified as offerings to deities. But among the offerings was a large limestone sarcophagus, carved and sealed, undisturbed. When the lid was removed, the team expected to find a well-preserved lion, perhaps, a sacred animal associated with the war goddess Sekhmet. Instead, they found something no one could identify. The creature inside was carefully mummified, wrapped with precision, intentionally preserved. But the body beneath the linen was strange. It didn't match the proportions of any known animal, at least not exactly. Initial scans and visual examinations revealed a skull elongated beyond that of a jackal or dog, too broad for a feline, too sharp and narrow for a crocodile. The body's size and posture were mismatched with any single species common to Egyptian zoology. It was something else. News reports labeled it simply, "The Tomb of the Unknown Animal." This was not hyperbole. Experts from the Egyptian Museum, along with international scholars, struggled to place it in the existing animal kingdom. Some suggested it could be a hybrid, perhaps the product of ritual crossbreeding, or a genetic anomaly. Others proposed it was a once-known species now extinct, or never fully recorded. And then, of course, the speculation began. Why go to such lengths to preserve a creature so unusual? Why enshrine it in its own sarcophagus, separate from the common offerings? Was this animal sacred in a way we no longer understand, or was it feared? Some theorists, stepping cautiously outside traditional bounds, asked whether this could have been a creature known only to the priests of SAQQARA, a temple beast bred in secrecy, or perhaps the physical manifestation of a deity whose iconography has since been lost. After all, ancient Egyptian religion was vast and layered. Gods took animal forms, many now only faintly remembered. Could this be the earthly vessel of one such forgotten power? Others turned to fringe ideas, that the animal might not be native to this world at all. A relic, they suggested, of something older than even Egypt, a biological artifact from a civilization or intelligence now erased from the Earth's surface. But those are questions we cannot answer. The remains are real. The sarcophagus is real. And they were treated with care, with intent. So we return to what we do know. The tomb itself dates to the 26th dynasty, around the 7th century BCE, a time when Saqqara had experienced centuries of change and revival. The walls of nearby chambers are decorated with inscriptions and symbols meant to guide both human and animal spirits to the afterlife. And among those chambers, a priest's name was found, WADI, a high-ranking official, a keeper of sacred animals, perhaps the guardian of the unknown being now buried here. What relationship did he have with this creature? Was it companion, idol, monster, or something in between? CT scans of the mummy revealed further perplexities. The bone structure suggested unique adaptations, perhaps exaggerated by embalming, or perhaps natural. The teeth were mismatched in form, some suggesting carnivorous traits, others more suited for grinding. Scientists noted that misidentified animal remains are not uncommon in mummified specimens, but rarely are they enshrined like this. Rarely are they given so much respect. Whatever this creature was, it was buried not as a curiosity, but as a being of purpose. Even in the age of high-resolution scanning and DNA analysis, results remain inconclusive. The genome was too degraded to classify definitively, the structure too warped to match. Some researchers suggest the remains might have been altered post-mortem, modified as part of an unknown ritual process. Others maintain that we may be looking at a real species, one that has simply vanished from the record, unnoticed by natural history. And yet, the silence remains. The tomb is quiet now. The chamber sealed again, its contents archived. But the questions linger. What lived beneath the sands of SAQQARA? What creature was carried in procession through temple halls, anointed with oils, wrapped in linen, and entombed with such solemnity? What story has it carried with it into the dark? The wind moves softly across the stone, through corridors where incense once burned. The camera lingers on the sealed sarcophagus. A hush. In the house of the dead, one animal lies unknown, its name lost, its form forgotten, its purpose still waiting to be understood. As twilight falls again on SAQQARA, we move onward, deeper into mystery, deeper into time. There are more riddles yet to uncover. Would you like the next mystery to stay within ancient Egypt or explore another forgotten civilization? High in the Bolivian Altiplano, where the air thins and the world feels impossibly vast, a network of lines crisscrosses the earth. Beneath the gaze of Mount SAJAMA, Bolivia's highest peak, these shallow etchings form one of the most extensive and least understood geoglyph systems in the world. They are the SAJAMA lines. Spanning an area over 8,000 square miles, larger than the entire island of Puerto Rico, these lines form a geometric web so immense it can only be seen in full from the sky. Some run for miles, perfectly straight, over hills, across rocky terrain, through valleys, uninterrupted by the contours of nature. Others intersect to form vast polygons, sprawling trapezoids, and gentle arcs that stretch like echoes across the land. But perhaps most curiously, few outside Bolivia have ever heard of them. Unlike the more famous Nazca lines of Peru, stylized drawings of animals and gods carved into desert plains, the SAJAMA lines are subtle. They are not pictographs. They do not depict shapes or figures. They are lines, pure and deliberate. Each line is no more than a few inches deep, created by removing the darker upper layer of soil and exposing the lighter substrate beneath. The method is simple, the effect profound. Who made them? Why? And how were they able to create such precise alignments over such immense distances? Mainstream archaeologists believe the lines are the work of the indigenous Aymara people, perhaps over the span of thousands of years. It is thought that they served as ceremonial pathways, connecting sacred sites such as shrines, burial towers, and villages. Some align with ancient trails still in use today. Others seem to converge at what may have been ritual centers or high-altitude waypoints of spiritual significance. But these explanations only begin to scratch the surface, because unlike the Nazca lines, which are believed to have been made over the course of a few hundred years, the SAJAMA lines are far more numerous. Satellite imagery suggests there are tens of thousands of them. Some stretch for 10 to 20 kilometers without deviation, unwaveringly straight despite uneven terrain. That level of consistency over such distance without modern surveying tools raises difficult questions. How did ancient peoples, without aerial perspective, maintain perfect linearity? What tools did they use to ensure such alignment over ridges, through valleys, across land that undulates and shifts with the seasons? There are no written records, no ancient blueprints. The lines were not rediscovered by researchers until the mid-20th century. And even now, no comprehensive mapping has been completed. They are too vast, too remote. And so the mystery grows. Some scholars suggest the lines were walked, ritual processions linking the living with the divine, a kind of spiritual cartography inscribed on the land to echo the beliefs of a people who saw the earth and sky as connected realms. Others see in them a cosmic calendar, an attempt to mirror the heavens. Were the lines aligned with celestial bodies, solstices, or equinoxes? Did they track the movement of stars, or serve as a kind of terrestrial clock, counting the passing of time in silence? And then there are those who look further still. Speculative theorists have drawn comparisons between the SAJAMA lines and ley lines, hypothetical alignments of spiritual or energetic significance that are believed by some to crisscross the globe. Were these Bolivian geoglyphs part of a larger, planetary grid, a forgotten system of energy, navigation, or knowledge? More fringe interpretations suggest the lines were made to be seen from above, not by gods, but by beings in flight. Were they signals, landing guides, messages etched in stone, waiting to be read by intelligences that once passed overhead? These ideas remain unproven, and yet, the scale of the SAJAMA lines continues to defy easy explanation. Unlike the Nazca lines, they are not protected by global heritage status. There are no fences, no guards. Few tourists make the journey. They lie open to the elements, weathered but enduring, etched by hands that have long since turned to dust. And so they remain. Lines without names, roads without destinations, symbols without clear meaning. They are walked still by herders and villagers who sometimes follow them unconsciously, guided by the ancient tracks underfoot. Local oral traditions speak of ancestral paths, sacred places, and skyward ceremonies. But even these tales grow faint with time. What are we to make of such vast silence? What purpose drives a people to carve lines across the earth, not for the eye, but for something else? Perhaps it was devotion. Perhaps it was knowledge. Perhaps it was an act of faith, made not to be seen, but to be remembered. The wind stirs across the plateau, tracing invisible paths across the dust. The snow-capped slopes of Mount Sajama loom distant and unmoving, and still the lines reach outward as if seeking something. What ancient mind measured these paths by heart alone? What vision drew geometry upon a continent? And what message, if any, endures, unread, beneath the sky? As we leave the highlands behind, another mystery calls. The earth still holds its secrets close, but for those who listen, they whisper. Shall we continue deeper into the Andes, or journey now to another corner of the world? From the wind-swept Sajama Plateau, with its haunting web of lines etched in silence, we now descend, far below the Earth's surface. Not to escape mystery, but to enter it more deeply. Beneath the sunlit island of Malta, carved into limestone more than 5,000 years ago, lies a space unlike any other. A chamber where sound does not merely echo, it transforms. Hidden beneath a modern suburb of Valletta, Malta's capital city, lies a subterranean temple of astonishing complexity and age. Known as the Hal Saflieni HYPOGEUM, this vast underground structure is not a cave, nor a natural formation, but a fully man-made monument. It was carved by hand, thousands of years before the Great Pyramid of Giza rose from the desert, and long before written history reached the Mediterranean. Within its limestone halls, winding passages and interconnected chambers spiral downward across 3 distinct levels. The air is cool, dry, and still, untouched by sunlight, as it has been for millennia. Niches, altars, and carved walls suggest a space of profound ceremonial importance. But among the many chambers of this underground labyrinth, one room stands apart. A small, unassuming space, yet one that defies explanation. It is known simply as the Oracle Room. Roughly rectangular, with smoothly curved walls and a ceiling no higher than a standing man, This chamber is the site of one of archaeology's most curious acoustic phenomena. A niche, carefully carved into the wall, seems to transform human voice into something otherworldly. When a man speaks, chants, or sings in a specific frequency, around 110 Hz, the entire chamber begins to resonate. The sound does not merely bounce or echo, it amplifies, reverberating in a low, thrumming pulse that fills the air and seems to vibrate within the body itself. Those who have experienced it describe the sensation as immersive, even disorienting. Not merely heard, but felt. How did the builders of the HYPOGEUM over 5,000 years ago achieve this? No advanced tools, no modern understanding of acoustics. And yet, this effect is measurable and reproducible. Acoustic engineers have studied the chamber, confirming its unique sound properties and proposing theories, but few definitive answers. Was this deliberate? Mainstream archaeologists are cautious. They suggest the resonance may have been an accidental byproduct of the chamber's shape and materials. After all, limestone is a naturally sound-conductive medium. The architecture, so carefully smoothed, might have simply aligned with the right frequencies by chance. And yet, the oracle room's resonance occurs only within a narrow band of male vocal range. At 110 Hz, the human voice strikes a perfect harmony with the chamber's geometry. The effect diminishes outside this range. It does not occur with female voices in the same way. This has led some researchers to propose that male priests or shamans once chanted here, using the chamber's resonance to heighten the impact of their rituals. The vibration, pulsing through the bones and body, could have created altered states of consciousness, deep meditative focus, or even trance-like experiences. If so, was the HYPOGEUM not merely a temple of stone, but of sound? Could these ancient builders have understood how to manipulate the human experience using resonance alone? Some ethnographic parallels do exist. Across the world, indigenous and prehistoric cultures have used drums, chants, and natural acoustics to induce trance and vision states. Caves in France and Spain show evidence that Paleolithic peoples painted in the areas of strongest echo. Certain temples in India and Peru contain chambers with similarly resonant qualities. Might the HYPOGEUM's oracle room belong to this forgotten tradition, a space not of logic, but of sensation? And if that's true, what was the purpose? Religious ceremony? Communication with the dead? A sonic bridge to other realms? More speculative theories have naturally emerged. Some propose that the oracle room may have been part of a lost science, an early understanding of how sound affects the human brain. Modern neuroscience confirms that low-frequency vibrations can alter cognitive states, influencing perception, emotion, and memory. Could the HYPOGEUM have been an ancient laboratory for sound-based consciousness exploration? Others have gone further still. Fringe theorists posit that the chamber was designed to receive as much as project, that the frequency may have acted like a beacon or a signal. Or perhaps it was a form of ancient communication, sound waves used to convey messages not just to the living, but to other intelligences, divine or otherwise. Yet, the most tantalizing aspect of the HYPOGEUM's acoustic mystery lies in what we don't know. We have no written records from the builders, no clear cultural continuity. The civilization that constructed this vast underground temple vanished long before the arrival of the Phoenicians or the Romans. Their tools were simple, their purpose obscured. The HYPOGEUM was sealed for centuries. It was rediscovered only in 1902 by accident during construction work. Since then, much of its interior has been altered, passages blocked, artifacts moved. Modern efforts at preservation have limited access, further shrouding its mysteries. And so we are left with sound and silence. A voice speaks in the oracle room, and the stone answers. What were they listening for? What did they hear? In the cool darkness beneath the Maltese soil, the air hums with questions. The stone remembers a time before memory, and still it waits. Could resonance itself have been a sacred language? Might sound have been the key to an ancient understanding now lost to us? Or does the oracle room simply offer a glimpse of what lies just beyond the reach of knowing? As we leave the hypogeum behind, returning slowly to the surface, another mystery calls. Still older, still stranger. The earth whispers on. Would you like the next location to remain in Europe, or shift to a new region of the world? From the subterranean resonance chambers of Malta, carved in silence beneath the earth, we now travel eastward, into the remote mountain ranges of China. Here, where the clouds hang low and time itself seems to pause, another enigma awaits. One etched not in whispers of sound, but in stone. High in the Bayanhar Mountains, on the border between Tibet and the Chinese province of Qinghai, lies one of the world's most isolated regions. The terrain is harsh, rugged, and largely untouched by modern development. Snow-dusted peaks rise above vast alpine plateaus. Wind sighs through ancient valleys, and the silence feels complete. It was here, in the late 1930s, that an expedition allegedly made a discovery that still puzzles researchers, historians, and skeptics alike. The story begins in 1938, when Chinese archaeologist Qipu Te led a survey team into a series of isolated caves. The caves themselves were intriguing. Some had clearly been used by humans in prehistoric times. But it wasn't the sheltering stone that drew the team's deepest attention. It was what they found buried within. Scattered among the cave floors, partially embedded in sediment, were dozens of strange, round stone discs, each about a foot across. Roughly circular, each disc featured a hole at its center, much like an ancient phonograph record. But it was the surface of the stones that drew the most curiosity. Upon close inspection, each disc appeared to be covered in an intricate pattern of tiny grooves. These were not natural weathering marks. They spiraled out from the center in fine, deliberate lines, as if etched with careful precision. Later observers would describe the markings as microscopic inscriptions, carved in a language unknown. In total, more than 700 such discs were reportedly uncovered. They would come to be known as the DROPA stones. But who made them? And what story did they tell? The official record, such as it exists, becomes murky. Early Chinese publications reference the find, but later records were sparse. Western awareness came decades later, in the 1960s, through the writings of Russian and German researchers who had allegedly seen the discs or Chinese reports about them. One name stands out: SUBMEGED, a researcher at the Beijing Academy for Ancient Studies, who reportedly spent years attempting to translate the inscriptions. According to secondary sources, he concluded that the carvings told a remarkable and deeply controversial tale. The story they contained spoke of a people called the DROPA, beings who came from the stars. According to the alleged translations, their spacecraft crash-landed in the mountains thousands of years ago. Unable to return home, the DROPA sought refuge in the caves and eventually made contact with the local tribes, who feared them at first, but later coexisted. The discs, then, were thought to be a kind of message, a record of this journey, etched in stone and left behind. But this is where the mystery deepens. Mainstream archaeology does not recognize SUBMEGED. The Beijing Academy, where he supposedly worked, has no official record of such a person. Chinese authorities later denied the existence of the DROPA stones entirely, or reclassified them as objects of natural origin or misinterpreted relics. And yet, photographs exist. One of the most frequently cited images is a black and white photo from the 1970s, showing a man holding a circular stone disc, clearly inscribed with a spiral groove. The caption claims it was taken at the Banpo Museum in Xi'an, where some of the stones were supposedly stored. Even among those who accept the physical reality of the discs, debate remains over their purpose. Some researchers have proposed they are ceremonial objects, perhaps ancient musical instruments, grinding stones, or symbolic talismans related to early burial practices. Others speculate the grooves could represent an early form of proto-writing, an extinct symbolic system from a forgotten culture. Still others suggest the patterns might encode astronomical data, ritual instructions, or cyclical calendars. But the more fringe interpretations endure. Could these discs truly be remnants of an ancient contact event? Skeptics point to the lack of scholarly verification, the murky paper trail, and the absence of any known writing system that matches the grooves. They question whether the Dropa tribe itself even existed as described, confusing them with the modern Dropka people of Tibet, who share a similar name but no connection to the legend. Still, there are those who argue that the remote nature of the region and the secrecy of mid-20th century China may have obscured the truth. Some suggest the stones, if authentic, were quietly removed or hidden to avoid stirring politically sensitive speculation. And yet, the images remain. The stories persist. So, what are we left with? A set of enigmatic stone discs said to contain unknown inscriptions. A tale passed along in whispers, photos, and footnotes. A mystery that flickers on the edge of archaeological legitimacy, never fully embraced, never entirely dismissed. If the Dropa stones are a hoax, who created them, and why? If they are genuine, what do they tell us about our past? What civilizations may have risen and fallen before the stories we now accept as history? And if, just if, some part of the story is true, might the Dropa not be aliens from another planet, but survivors of an earlier age? A forgotten epoch of humanity, whose technologies and languages are now buried in time. Among the winds of the Bayan Har Mountains, the stones remain silent. Their spiral grooves still reflect light in curious ways. And far beneath the snow-draped peaks, the earth holds its secrets close. Could these ancient discs be the final voice of a vanished culture? Or are they nothing more than weathered stones, shaped by time and imagination? As with many such mysteries, the answer may lie not in certainty, but in our willingness to wonder. Let us journey onward, for the past still has more to whisper. From the cloud-veiled mountains of Qinghai and the enigmatic spirals of stone left behind in silence, we now shift westward, across continents and deserts, to a dry and desolate place. A land where caves once served as hiding places, and where parchment and prophecy slept for centuries in earthen jars. But among these relics, one scroll stands apart, not in what it says alone, but in what it is made of. Amid the crumbling cliffs of the West Bank, overlooking the austere waters of the Dead Sea, lies the archaeological site of QUMRAN. Sparse and sun-baked, it is a place of wind-carved stone and shifting shadows, where caves open into silence and history seeps from the very soil. In the 1950s, these caves yielded one of the most important finds in biblical archaeology, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Texts that included ancient scripture, apocalyptic visions, sectarian rules, documents that deepened our understanding of Second Temple Judaism and the roots of Christianity. But in Cave 3, something quite different was discovered. It was not written on papyrus, not etched into clay or carved into stone. Instead, it was pressed, letter by letter, into beaten sheets of metal. A scroll made of copper, rolled tight and oxidized to a stubborn green. It had to be cut apart with a saw just to be read. What it contained was even more extraordinary. Unlike the religious or philosophical scrolls found in nearby caves, the copper scroll read more like an inventory, an itemized list. Site after site, entry after entry, it described vast caches of treasure, not metaphorical treasure, physical, tangible, measured in talents of gold and silver, vessels, incense, and artifacts. 64 entries in total, hidden beneath cisterns, inside tombs, under memorial stones, in the third conduit of the aqueduct, or under the stairs in the salt pit. The tone is matter of fact, as though the writer fully expected each location to be known, as though these were directions meant for someone specific, someone who would understand the coded geography. And yet, not one of the listed hoards has ever been found. Who wrote the copper scroll? And more intriguingly, why? Mainstream scholars suggest it may have been created by members of the Essens, a monastic sect believed to have lived in Qumran in the 1st century BCE to 1st century CE. Some propose that as Roman forces closed in during the First Jewish-Roman War, temple treasures were secretly hidden, their locations preserved on this strange and durable medium. But others doubt this explanation. The style and dialect of the Copper Scroll differ sharply from the other Dead Sea Scrolls. Its Hebrew is archaic, its phrasing unusual, lending credence to the idea that it was composed by someone outside the main scribal community. Its content, too, seems almost surreal. The amounts of gold and silver described are staggering. Some estimates place the total value in modern terms at over $1 billion. Could the temple in Jerusalem have once held such wealth? Or could the scroll be older still, a remnant of a forgotten archive, cataloging treasures from a lost sanctuary, predating even the Second Temple? More speculative interpretations abound. Some see the Copper Scroll as a map to the fabled treasures of Solomon's temple, hidden away to keep them from falling into foreign hands. Others link it to the Ark of the Covenant, suggesting that at least part of the scroll's content points to the hidden resting place of the Ark itself, protected beneath desert sands, sealed behind stone, still waiting. And still others suggest that the treasure never existed at all. Could it be symbolic? A ritual text misunderstood as literal? Or perhaps a tool for training or initiation, its treasures representing spiritual insights encoded in physical imagery? Then again, if it was meant to deceive, why go to such lengths? Why engrave these words on copper, a material difficult to inscribe, costly to prepare, but almost impervious to decay? Why hide it in a cave separate from the others? Why so specific? The second cave on the left, as one enters with the mouth facing east, in the water conduit beneath the stone. These are not vague spiritual allegories. They are directions, deliberate, confident, yet every expedition to follow them has ended in frustration. Terrain has changed, landmarks have vanished, ancient aqueducts have crumbled or been rerouted, and the scroll gives no map, only names and hints and measures in ancient units no longer in use. What remains then is a tantalizing possibility, that somewhere in the deserts surrounding Qumran, under a ruin or hill or riverbed, lie the remnants of a forgotten treasury, the accumulation of a people in crisis, hidden in haste, recorded in desperation, or perhaps something stranger. Could this be part of a larger set of scrolls, still undiscovered? Could others have once existed, on gold, on bronze, on stone, that together tell a larger secret story? Some researchers quietly continue the search. Others pore over satellite images, hoping a shift in the sand might reveal a pattern, a doorway, a sign. Meanwhile, the Copper Scroll itself is housed today at the Jordan Museum in Amman. Under glass it rests, green with age, split into sections, silent. Its jagged edges catch the light. Its surface is scored with letters still legible after 2 millennia. It does not explain itself. It does not answer the questions it raises. Was this truly a record of a hidden treasure? A desperate act of preservation in the face of war and exile? Or is it something more elusive, meant not to guide the hands of treasure hunters, but to preserve a legacy now forgotten? In the dry stillness of the Qumran cliffs, the copper scroll remains one of archaeology's most curious riddles, and one of its most enduring silences. Let us continue. There are more mysteries to unfold, still waiting in the dust of ages. From the parched cliffs of Qumran, where the past is hidden beneath layers of sand and stone, we now turn our gaze to the remote waters of the Pacific. Beneath the gentle sway of waves, in a place far from the busy shores of modern life, another enigma waits, not in the silence of caves, but in the depths of the sea. Off the coast of Yonaguni, a small island in the Ryukyu chain of Japan, lies a submerged monument unlike any other. Discovered in 1986 by a local diver, this structure, known as the Yonaguni Monument, appears to rise from the sea floor like a forgotten pyramid, its sharp edges cut into terraces and platforms. It is not just an isolated formation of rock, but something more deliberate, more precise. The sight is both unnerving and awe-inspiring. The monument sits about 25 meters below the surface of the water. Its geometric contours stretch across the seabed, sharp, straight lines cutting through the rock, forming what appear to be broad steps or terraces. Some areas of the structure seem unnaturally smooth, while others contain angular edges that do not fit with the surrounding natural rock formations. Even the most skeptical diver cannot help but wonder, could this be a natural formation or the work of human hands? As researchers investigate the site, they discover what appear to be features that suggest intent, things that nature alone does not seem capable of producing. Vertical pillars, almost like columns, stand resolutely amidst the seabed. Massive, sculpted rock faces emerge from the stone, evoking the semblance of ancient statues. The structure itself is sprawling, an intricate complex, its full scope yet to be understood, as only parts of it are accessible due to its depth and the surrounding treacherous waters. But the most striking feature of the Yonaguni Monument is not its scale or shape. It is the presence of what appears to be human craftsmanship, a series of carved faces. Deep within the submerged structure, what some have called MOAI-like carvings seem to emerge from the rock. These stone faces, though worn and eroded by time, bear an uncanny resemblance to the famous MOAI statues of Easter Island. Large, elongated faces with exaggerated features. The carvings, submerged for millennia, are thought by some to depict figures that belong to a long-lost civilization. Could they represent a people who once inhabited these islands, and whose memory was swallowed by the sea? Mainstream archaeology offers a starkly different interpretation. Geologists and scholars point to the formation's location on the ocean floor and suggest that the Yonaguni Monument is a natural feature shaped by tectonic activity, erosion, and underwater currents over thousands of years. According to this view, the so-called carvings are simply patterns of wear in the rock, illusory shapes made by nature's hand, not by that of humans. But there are those who argue that the presence of large symmetrical terraces and stone pillars points to an entirely different explanation. Could this, they suggest, be the remnant of an ancient civilization, one whose culture, language, and technology were lost long before recorded history? Some speculate that the Yonaguni Monument could be the ruins of a city that once flourished in the distant past, now submerged by a great flood or a cataclysmic event. There are even suggestions that the monument is not just a product of an ancient human culture, but might be linked to the legendary civilization of Atlantis, an idea that has captured the imagination of many for centuries. Could this be one of the last surviving pieces of that mythical world? Despite the theories, there is no definitive proof to support the notion of a lost civilization. Yet, some of the features in the monument are undeniably puzzling. The structure's sharp angles and edges are highly precise for a natural formation, and the appearance of faces carved into the rock suggests a level of artistry and skill that would be difficult to attribute to natural forces. The debate surrounding the Yonaguni monument intensifies with the discovery of other submerged sites nearby. Over time, more formations have been found in the waters surrounding Yonaguni, some of which appear to mirror the design of the central structure. Could this suggest that Yonaguni once held an ancient network of monuments, an underwater city now hidden from view? In the murky depths of the Pacific, the truth is elusive. Underwater archaeologists continue to explore these formations, but the limitations of technology make it difficult to fully explore or map the entire structure. Visibility is often poor, and the deep water surrounding the site poses challenges for divers. Some researchers have even questioned whether further exploration would reveal more of the monument, or if it would only deepen the mystery further. To this day, the Yonaguni monument remains one of the most debated underwater archaeological sites in the world. Could this truly be the remains of an ancient, advanced civilization submerged by time and catastrophe? Or is it simply an impressive, yet naturally formed structure with intriguing but ultimately coincidental carvings? And if it is man-made, what secrets might lie beneath the waves, waiting to be uncovered? The sea remains silent in response, its depths guarding the answers. Perhaps, in time, the waters will yield their secrets. But for now, the Yonaguni monument stands, half submerged, a testament to the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of the world we think we know. Let us continue. The past holds more riddles yet to be unraveled. As the waves lap against the shoreline of a secluded New England lake, the mysteries of the past seem to sink deep beneath the surface, hidden from view. But in the stillness of the water and the ancient woods surrounding it, there lies an enigma that has perplexed researchers and intrigued locals for generations. Beneath the serene surface of Lake Winnipesaukee, a strange and seemingly out-of-place object rests, its origins and purpose a riddle that continues to puzzle historians and archaeologists alike. Lake Winnipesaukee, nestled in the heart of New Hampshire's picturesque landscape, is a place of natural beauty, its shimmering waters stretching over 72 square miles, surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills. To the casual observer, it's a peaceful retreat, a sanctuary of recreation and relaxation. But beneath the placid surface of its waters lies a mystery that has captured the imagination of many. In the summer of 1872, while dredging the lake's bottom near the shores of the town of Meredith, workers stumbled upon a large, flat stone unlike any they had ever seen before. Covered in unusual markings, the stone was soon identified as something quite out of place, an artifact, it seemed, of profound mystery. It measured about 2 feet across and had strange inscriptions etched into its surface, symbols that didn't match any known Native American script or European writing. The object, now known as the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, was recovered and transported to a local museum, where it would be examined for clues. The stone's face was covered in intricate patterns. Some researchers noted geometric shapes, others saw stylized figures, but none could make sense of the marks. Was it an ancient artifact? A marker for a lost civilization? Or could it be something else entirely? An elaborate hoax or a product of a forgotten people, long lost to history? As the years passed, experts from various fields have tried to decipher the markings on the stone. Early theories suggested that it was the work of indigenous peoples, perhaps a record of sacred rituals or a map of spiritual significance. However, further analysis revealed that the markings did not resemble any known Native American languages or symbols. They were unlike anything from the region's tribal traditions. Could it have been the product of an ancient civilization, now lost to time? A people who once lived along the shores of Lake Winnipesaukee, long before the arrival of Europeans? Some theorists suggest that the stone's origins might stretch back to the pre-Columbian era, possibly from a culture that was far more advanced than previously thought. But even that explanation raises more questions. The absence of similar artifacts in the region, along with the lack of supporting evidence of such an advanced culture, leaves many skeptical of this theory. There are no known settlements in the area that would account for such a stone, and no other discoveries have been made in the surrounding lakes or forests that might provide additional context. Another theory that has emerged suggests that the stone could be the product of European settlers, perhaps a relic from the 17th or 18th century, created either as a form of artistic expression or, more intriguingly, as a marker for something important, a hidden treasure or a secretive, long-forgotten settlement. Some have speculated that it could be a map, a kind of cryptic guide pointing the way to something hidden beneath the earth, or perhaps an attempt to mark a specific place of significance. This idea of the stone being a marker is further fueled by the peculiar symbols etched into its surface. Some have noted the presence of what appear to be representations of the stars, constellations, or even an astronomical calendar. Could this stone have been placed there by a secret society or group with knowledge of the stars and ancient navigation techniques? Others believe the mystery lies in its connection to the broader history of the region. The area around Lake Winnipesaukee was once inhabited by the Abenaki people, whose culture and history are rich with stories of mystical and supernatural significance. Some suggest that the stone could be part of a lost cultural tradition, perhaps a relic of a forgotten spiritual practice or an object used in sacred ceremonies. However, with no clear evidence to support this theory, it remains largely speculative. Adding another layer of intrigue is the fact that the stone was found submerged in the lake rather than being discovered on dry land. How did it end up there? Was it deliberately placed in the water, or did it merely drift to its resting place over time? Some have proposed that the stone could have been used as a ritual offering, perhaps thrown into the lake as a form of reverence or dedication to the water spirits that the indigenous peoples of the area believed in. There is, of course, the possibility that the stone is a hoax, an artifact of questionable origin, created to deceive and intrigue. Some argue that the strange markings could have been intentionally carved into the stone by someone in the 19th century, looking to profit from the growing interest in local lore and curiosities. The lack of definitive evidence and the mystery surrounding the stone's origins leave room for such skepticism. Could the markings be nothing more than random scratches, designed to appear ancient and mysterious? But the mystery remains. Despite numerous investigations and attempts to decode the inscriptions, no one has definitively cracked the code of the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone. It sits, even now, in a local museum, its secrets carefully guarded by time and water. Could it be that the stone is part of a much older and far more significant puzzle, one that stretches back to a forgotten time, a time before recorded history? Or is it simply an artifact of a more recent, and perhaps less enigmatic, past? The stone offers no answers. It only raises more questions. What civilization could have left behind such an object? Could it be a map, a marker, or a spiritual relic? Or perhaps its true purpose has been lost forever to time, its meaning obscured by the very waters that concealed it. As we leave the quiet shores of Lake Winnipesaukee behind, the mystery stone remains beneath the surface, waiting for someone to unravel its secrets. What truths, if any, are hidden within its strange markings? Only time may tell. As the deep forests of New Zealand's southern Alps stretch across the horizon, there is a place where the past lingers in the mist, the remnants of an ancient world, where creatures of a bygone age once roamed. In these remote, rugged landscapes, beneath layers of rock and time, a single discovery would stir up questions that would resonate across the globe. A discovery that would point to a hidden chapter in the story of Earth, one that challenges everything we know about extinction, history, and the very nature of life itself. It was 1986, deep in the heart of New Zealand's wilderness, when a group of cavers and explorers stumbled upon something that would defy conventional understanding. While traversing the challenging terrain of the Mount Owen area in the South Island, they found something in the earth, a claw, large and distinctly shaped, half buried in the mud. At first glance, it appeared to be the claw of a bird, but not just any bird. The size and structure of the claw were unlike any known species of modern avian life. The claw, measuring nearly 30 centimeters in length, was identified as belonging to the moa, a large, flightless bird that once roamed New Zealand's landscapes. The moa had been thought to have gone extinct around 600 years ago, hunted to extinction by the Maori people, and possibly exacerbated by climatic changes. But this claw, recovered from a relatively recent stratum of Earth, only about 3 meters below the surface, would throw this timeline into chaos. The moa was believed to have vanished centuries ago, a casualty of human activity and the changing environment. Yet the discovery of this perfectly preserved claw raised immediate questions. How could a creature that was presumed extinct for so long still leave evidence of its existence so recently in geological time? Could the timeline of the moa's extinction be wrong? And if so, what else might be hidden beneath the soil of New Zealand's mountains? At first, mainstream scientists clung to the standard narrative. They proposed that the claw was simply an anomaly, a single, misplaced relic of an earlier time, possibly disturbed and moved by natural forces. After all, such a discovery in more recent sediment didn't quite fit the traditional model of extinction and the moa's demise. But even with this explanation, something felt off. The claw, with its sharp curved talons and distinct shape, appeared too well preserved to have been moved by the hands of nature alone. The evidence was there, yet the context didn't quite align. This discovery raised far more questions than answers. If the moa had truly gone extinct centuries ago, how could it leave behind such an intact specimen? Was it possible that the moa had survived longer than previously thought, perhaps surviving into the era of European colonization in the 18th or 19th century? Some theories suggested that the moa may have been rare or isolated, living in remote parts of the island where human contact was limited. Others, more speculative in nature, proposed the idea that the moa was not entirely extinct. Could this claw be evidence of a creature that survived in isolated pockets of New Zealand, tucked away in hidden valleys or deep caves, beyond the reach of human hunters and the encroachment of civilization? If so, how many more creatures like the moa still remain hidden in the dark corners of the world, waiting to be discovered? Some researchers have even ventured into more fringe territory. The moa's extinction is already somewhat shrouded in mystery, as the rapidity of its disappearance leaves room for uncertainty. Could there have been other forces at play, perhaps environmental shifts, diseases, or even unknown human interventions that led to its eventual decline? Or is it possible that the moa represents a greater, more complex ecological mystery, a creature whose sudden disappearance from the record is still not fully understood? Adding to the mystery is the claw's remarkable preservation. Unlike other ancient animal remains that are often degraded or scattered by time, this claw seemed almost frozen in time. The intricate details of its structure, the curvature of the talon, the distinctive ridges on its surface, were as sharp and well-defined as though the bird had lived just a few decades ago. How could this be? What kind of environment had allowed such an exceptional preservation of this single, solitary relic? As more studies were conducted on the Mount Owen moa claw, the mystery deepened. Radiocarbon dating, which would typically be used to establish an artifact's age, failed to produce conclusive results. The results were inconsistent, and some tests even contradicted each other, further complicating the matter. These technical setbacks only fueled the speculation and uncertainty surrounding the claw's origin. Could the claw have been preserved in an underground cache, sheltered from the elements by layers of earth and then uncovered by erosion or natural shifts in the landscape? Or might it have been placed intentionally in that location by humans, either to commemorate the bird's demise or to use it for some other unknown ritualistic purpose? There is no clear evidence to support this theory, but it would not be the first time that ancient cultures have left behind markers, relics, or artifacts that continue to baffle archaeologists. Yet, even with all the theories and explanations, the most significant question remains. What does this claw tell us about the history of the moa and its true extinction? How many more clues are buried beneath the surface of New Zealand's rugged mountains, waiting to be discovered? And what if the story of the moa's extinction isn't as clear-cut as we once believed? Could there still be more to uncover, perhaps more specimens, more clues, suggesting that the moa's story is not finished? The Mount Owen moa claw rests today in a place of quiet mystery, challenging our assumptions about the past and offering a glimpse into a world we thought we understood. But like so many unexplained discoveries, it leaves us wondering, what truths are yet to be revealed beneath the layers of time? In the dense tropical jungles of Costa Rica, where the air is thick with humidity and the sounds of wildlife echo through the trees, there exists a mystery that has baffled archaeologists and historians for decades. Buried beneath the soil, hidden among the foliage, lies an enigmatic collection of perfectly round stone spheres. Known as the DIQUÍS spheres, these ancient objects stand as silent, perplexing witnesses to a lost civilization. But the true purpose and origin of these mysterious spheres remain unresolved, leaving behind a legacy of questions, speculations, and wonder. The first discovery of the DIQUÍS spheres took place in the 1930s when workers clearing land in the DIQUÍS Delta area of Costa Rica stumbled upon these large polished stones. At first, the spheres seemed to have no particular pattern, dispersed in random locations across the region, varying in size from small, hand-sized objects to massive spheres weighing several tons. But as time passed, the curiosity surrounding these stones only grew. Their precision and near-perfect symmetry were unlike anything that would naturally form in nature. Many of the DIQUÍS spheres measure up to 2 meters in diameter and exhibit a flawless, smooth surface that seems to defy the limitations of ancient tools. Some are perfectly round, while others show signs of human intervention, engraved with mysterious symbols or bearing slight grooves that hint at their craftsmanship. What was the purpose of these perfectly spherical stones, and how did the ancient people of this region shape and carve them with such precision? The most common explanation put forth by archaeologists is that these spheres were created by the pre-Columbian DIQUÍS culture, a society that inhabited southern Costa Rica long before the arrival of Europeans. The DIQUÍS people, who flourished from around 500 CE to the time of Spanish colonization in the 16th century, are thought to have been skilled craftsmen, capable of producing intricate works of art and tools using local materials such as stone, wood, and shell. The stones, according to this theory, may have been part of an elaborate ritual or cultural practice. Most scholars believe that the spheres could have held a symbolic significance, perhaps representing celestial bodies or the passage of time, as ancient cultures often associated stones with cosmological meaning. The arrangement of the spheres, found in clusters and sometimes aligned in specific formations, suggests that they may have been used in ceremonial contexts, possibly marking important locations or acting as markers for agricultural or religious observances. Some have even suggested that they were created as territorial markers or symbols of power, indicating ownership or dominance over a specific area. But despite these plausible theories, the true purpose of the DIQUÍS spheres remains elusive, and many aspects of their creation continue to defy logical explanation. For instance, the level of precision required to craft such perfectly spherical shapes seems highly advanced for a civilization that, as far as we know, lacked metal tools. The stones themselves are made of a variety of materials, including sandstone, limestone, and even granite, all of which require complex techniques to shape. How did the DIQUÍS people, without the use of wheels or advanced machinery, manage to shape these spheres with such flawless symmetry? How did they carve the deep grooves and patterns some of the spheres possess, and what significance did those markings hold? In an attempt to answer these questions, some researchers have turned to the idea of extraterrestrial influence, a theory that, while controversial, has captivated the imagination of many. Could the advanced knowledge required to carve these stones have come from an outside source, perhaps from visitors from another world? While this idea lacks definitive evidence, it remains an intriguing possibility for those who believe in the potential for ancient contact with extraterrestrial beings. After all, history is replete with stories of mysterious, seemingly inexplicable advances in technology and knowledge. Could the DIQUÍS spheres be part of that story? Others have suggested that the spheres may not have been created for symbolic or ceremonial purposes at all, but were instead practical tools or markers for a now lost way of life. Some hypothesize that the spheres were used in some form of ancient astronomy, their positioning on the landscape tied to the stars or other celestial events. Could they have been navigational instruments, guiding travelers through the dense jungle? Or were they used as a form of geodesic survey, marking important points on the land for purposes now forgotten? As intriguing as these ideas are, no evidence has emerged to conclusively link the spheres to any specific function or system. Adding to the mystery is the fact that many of the spheres have been moved, lost, or destroyed over the years. Some were relocated for private collections, while others were inadvertently damaged by land development. A few of the stones were placed in public parks and museums, where they continue to be studied and admired. Yet, despite their widespread recognition, the questions surrounding the DIQUÍS spheres only grow more complex with each passing year. Where did the DIQUÍS people gain the knowledge to create such precise objects? How did they manage to carve the stones with such accuracy? And what exactly were these stones used for? One theory, though speculative, suggests that the spheres could be remnants of a much older civilization, possibly one that existed long before the DIQUÍS people. Some propose that these ancient stones may have been created by a civilization that was lost to time, perhaps even predating the rise of human civilization as we know it. Could these stones be a fragment of a much larger, forgotten culture, one that had knowledge or technology far more advanced than we have imagined? Or might the DIQUÍS people themselves have inherited the knowledge of the spheres from an even earlier civilization, passing down the techniques through generations, while the true meaning of the stones was lost to history? Perhaps, most intriguingly, the DIQUÍS spheres are simply a mystery meant to remain unsolved, a riddle embedded in the very landscape of Costa Rica. These stones, perfectly round and deceptively simple, continue to baffle us, much like so many other unexplained discoveries from ancient cultures. The more we try to unravel their secrets, the more questions we seem to uncover. What if the DIQUÍS spheres hold the key to understanding not just the history of Costa Rica, but of human civilization itself? And if so, what other mysteries lie buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? As we peer into the depths of this ancient enigma, we are left to wonder, will we ever truly understand the purpose of the DIQUÍS spheres? Or are they meant to remain as silent witnesses to a forgotten past? In the quiet, rolling hills of central Scotland, just outside the small village of Clydebank, lies an ancient and enigmatic stone. Half buried beneath the earth for centuries, the COCHNO stone is a relic of a distant past, its intricate carvings and patterns telling a story that still defies complete understanding. Discovered in 1887, this megalithic structure has sparked numerous theories and debates, but it remains a mystery with more questions than answers. The COCHNO stone is a large, flat boulder measuring about 5 meters by 4 meters, with a series of geometric and abstract patterns carved deeply into its surface. Situated in a remote area, the stone's intricate designs have been a source of fascination for archaeologists and historians for over a century. What makes the COCHNO stone so striking is the sheer complexity of its markings, spirals, concentric circles, and other enigmatic symbols that suggest it was much more than just a simple rock. At first glance, the COCHNO stone could easily be mistaken for a natural formation, as it lies on the side of a hill, half covered in earth, its intricate patterns barely visible. But the more one examines the carvings, the more it becomes apparent that this was no accidental creation of nature. The stone has been shaped with a clear intent, and its markings are far too deliberate to have been formed by erosion or weathering. This realization raises an inevitable question: who carved the COCHNO stone, and why? The COCHNO stone is thought to date back to the Neolithic period, roughly 5,000 years ago, placing it in the same era as other megalithic structures like Stonehenge and the ancient burial mounds of the British Isles. But unlike those iconic monuments, the purpose of the COCHNO stone remains unclear. Was it a religious or ceremonial object, a symbol of power or territorial claim? Or was it something entirely different, perhaps a map, a form of ancient writing, or even a representation of a lost cosmology? Over the years, various theories have emerged to explain the stone's purpose. Some researchers argue that the carvings on the COCHNO stone are similar to other Neolithic rock art found throughout Europe, suggesting it was a place of ritual significance. The spirals, for instance, have often been linked to ancient depictions of the sun, water, or fertility. These motifs might have symbolized the cycles of nature, birth, death, and renewal. The concentric circles, some suggest, could represent the cycle of the seasons, marking the passage of time, or perhaps the idea of the universe itself, an endless loop of cosmic forces. Other scholars, however, suggest that the COCHNO stone may have had a more utilitarian role. Could it have been an ancient calendar or astronomical marker, similar to the carved stones found at the site of Newgrange in Ireland? These structures, with their careful alignments to the sun, are thought to have been used to track celestial events. Could the COCHNO stone have been a similar tool, marking important moments in the year, such as the solstices or equinoxes? Yet, what is particularly intriguing about the COCHNO stone is its context. Unlike other ancient carvings, which are often found in isolated locations or within burial mounds, the COCHNO stone was discovered just beneath the surface of the ground. It was partially obscured by soil, as if deliberately hidden or forgotten. Was this a conscious decision made by those who placed it there, or did time and the forces of nature simply bury it? Some have speculated that the stone was deliberately concealed, perhaps to protect its secrets or to preserve its power. It's worth noting that, in the years following its discovery, the COCHNO stone was deliberately covered once again in the mid-20th century for its own protection, keeping it hidden from the elements and from those who might not understand its significance. Despite this, the stone's location adds another layer of mystery to its story. Why was it placed here, in this particular spot? Some researchers believe it was positioned in a place of prominence, possibly within a sacred landscape or near an ancient settlement. Others think that the COCHNO stone could have been a focal point for early agricultural communities, marking a territory or serving as a landmark in an otherwise unfamiliar terrain. As the COCHNO stone has captivated the imagination of archaeologists and the general public alike, its symbolism has also invited more speculative and fringe theories. Some have suggested that the patterns on the stone could represent an ancient form of alien communication, with the concentric circles and spirals standing in for star systems or extraterrestrial technologies. While these ideas have no solid basis in established archaeology, they nonetheless contribute to the ongoing fascination with the stone and the possibility of hidden knowledge from another world. But what about the most tantalizing question of all? Could the COCHNO stone have once been part of a larger system of ancient monuments or symbols, now lost to time? If we consider the possibility that the stone was one piece of a grander whole, perhaps part of an interconnected network of sacred sites or landmarks, then the COCHNO stone becomes more than just an isolated relic. Could there have been a whole system of ancient knowledge spread across the landscape whose meaning has been obscured by the sands of time? One theory even posits that the stone could have been part of a ritualistic geography, a sacred space that marked the boundaries of a lost culture's domain. If the carvings represent celestial or natural cycles, could they have also been a form of territorial assertion, a way to align human settlements with the cosmos? These questions remain unanswered, but they point to the possibility that there may have been a much larger cultural and spiritual context surrounding the COCHNO stone than we currently understand. What is clear, however, is that the COCHNO stone, in all its mystery and complexity, continues to provoke curiosity and wonder. With each theory and each question, the stone grows in significance, becoming not just an artifact of the past, but a symbol of the unknown, an invitation to explore the depths of ancient history and the limits of our knowledge. So, as we stand before this enigmatic stone, half buried in the earth, we must wonder, what else remains hidden beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered? What other secrets does the COCHNO stone hold, and will they ever come to light? Only time will tell. In the vast, arid expanses of Egypt's western desert lies a landscape that appears to be frozen in time. Among the scattered dunes and rocky outcrops of Wadi El-HITAN, or the Valley of the Whales, an extraordinary discovery awaits those willing to look closer. Beneath the sun-scorched earth, fossilized remains of ancient creatures tell a story that challenges our understanding of both the natural world and the passage of time itself. Wadi El-HITAN is a remote and desolate region, its name translating to Valley of the Whales, for a reason that seems almost too fantastical to be true. Here, amidst the desolation of Egypt's western desert, paleontologists have uncovered the remains of creatures that seem out of place in the harsh desert landscape. Fossils of prehistoric whales, some dating back over 40 million years, have been found embedded in the rock and sand, their skeletal remains fossilized in a way that paints a vivid picture of an ancient world. When we think of whales today, we associate them with oceans, vast bodies of water. Yet, millions of years ago, the ancestors of modern whales roamed a vast inland sea, far from the coastlines we know today. Wadi El-HITAN holds a window into this long-lost world, revealing the gradual evolution of these majestic creatures as they transitioned from land-dwelling mammals to the aquatic giants we are familiar with today. The fossils found here are nothing short of astonishing. Entire skeletons of ancient whales, some preserved in near-perfect condition, along with other marine creatures, all scattered across a landscape that was once submerged underwater. As researchers sift through the remains, they have unearthed fossils of an array of animals, bizarre creatures, some resembling early whales with legs, while others appear to be amphibious, caught in the transition between land and sea. The fossils of Basilosaurus, one of the largest prehistoric whales, stand out in particular. This 50-foot-long predator had elongated, powerful limbs, hinting at its life in the water, but it also had remnants of hips and legs that indicate it was still connected to its terrestrial ancestors. The images of these half-land, half-sea creatures stir the imagination. Were they caught in a moment of evolution, or did they represent a long, gradual transformation that spanned millions of years? The Wadi El-HITAN fossil beds, inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2005, have provided some of the most significant evidence of the early stages of whale evolution. Yet, this seemingly straightforward picture of the past still raises profound questions. The fossils are exceptionally well preserved, but how did they come to be scattered across a vast desert? What events unfolded in this region to create such a treasure trove of ancient life forms, and why have they been preserved so completely for millions of years? The most intriguing aspect of Wadi el-HITAN is the question of how a vast sea once covered this land. Today, the region is arid and lifeless, with no trace of the waters that once flourished here. What was once a vibrant marine environment, teeming with life, is now little more than a desolate stretch of sand and rock. But beneath the surface, there are the unmistakable remnants of that forgotten time, ancient bones locked in stone, preserving the memory of a world long gone. Scientists believe that this area was once part of a vast inland sea, a warm and shallow body of water that spanned much of what is now Egypt and Sudan. But how did this sea vanish? And what forces were responsible for transforming the landscape into the desert we see today? While mainstream science provides a geological explanation for the area's transformation, offering evidence of shifting tectonic plates and climatic changes, there are still lingering questions. Could there be a more significant event, one that we have yet to fully understand, that caused this dramatic shift? Could Wadi el-HITAN, once a thriving sea, have been the site of a great natural disaster, perhaps a cataclysmic event that wiped out entire ecosystems in an instant? Some have speculated that a sudden shift in climate or even an asteroid impact could have been responsible for altering the course of this ancient world, though these ideas remain speculative. In addition to the mysteries surrounding the disappearance of the ancient sea, the fossils themselves have generated much intrigue. The fact that the fossil beds are so well preserved, with entire skeletons of creatures like Basilosaurus still intact, suggests a sudden and rapid burial, possibly by a natural disaster. This raises the possibility that the creatures of Wadi el-HITAN were caught in a catastrophic event that caused them to be fossilized almost instantly. But how exactly did this happen? What caused the sudden burial of such massive animals, and why were they preserved with such exceptional detail? More than just a site of paleontological significance, Wadi el-HITAN also invites speculation about the broader picture of life on Earth during this time. The fossilized remains of these ancient whales, along with the strange creatures they coexisted with, offer tantalizing clues about the nature of early marine ecosystems. Were these creatures merely surviving, or were they part of a complex, highly evolved ecosystem that rivaled the complexity of today's oceans? And what role did these ancient whales play in the ecosystems of their time? The fossil beds are not just remnants of the past. They are a puzzle, a mystery that holds answers to some of life's biggest questions. What other discoveries remain hidden in the sand and rock, waiting to be uncovered? How did the life forms of this ancient sea interact with one another? And most of all, what other secrets lie buried in the desert, waiting for the right eyes to find them? For now, Wadi el-HITAN continues to hold its secrets close. Every year, paleontologists and researchers continue to uncover new fossils and learn more about the creatures that once lived in this forgotten sea. Yet, the mystery of how this world came to be and what caused its transformation remains largely unsolved. As we contemplate the ancient creatures that once swam through the waters of Wadi el-HITAN, we must ask, what other hidden stories are out there, waiting to be unearthed beneath the shifting sands of time? And what, if anything, are we missing in our understanding of this ancient world? Perhaps one day, as the land of Wadi el-HITAN continues to reveal its secrets, we will uncover the answers to the questions that still linger in the windswept desert. Until then, the mystery of this ancient fossil bed remains an enigmatic and compelling reminder of the Earth's long and mysterious past. In the vast, sun-drenched expanses of southern Iraq, nestled along the banks of the ancient Euphrates River, lies the site of Al-UBAID, an archaeological location that holds secrets from the dawn of civilization. It is a place where the first traces of urban life began to take shape and where the mysterious and fascinating Al-Ubaid lizard figurines were unearthed, their small forms whispering from the depths of history. These seemingly unremarkable clay artifacts, with their elongated bodies and reptilian features, carry with them more questions than answers. The Al-Ubaid culture, which flourished around 5,000 years ago during the late Neolithic period, is often seen as a precursor to the great Sumerian civilization that would later rise in Mesopotamia. In the region now known as southern Iraq, the Al-Ubaid people are credited with developing early forms of urbanization, with significant advances in pottery, architecture, and social structure. Yet, it is the discovery of the small clay figurines from this period that continues to captivate the imagination of archaeologists and historians alike. The Al-Ubaid lizard figurines are, at first glance, striking in their simplicity. These small, handcrafted objects are typically no larger than a human palm, and they depict lizards, creatures that seem mundane in today's world, but carry an air of mystery when seen in this context. The figurines are molded in a highly stylized manner, with exaggerated, long bodies, pointed tails, and detailed features such as pronounced limbs and heads. Their purpose, however, is anything but ordinary. The lizard shapes have led many to ask, why lizards? And what did these figures represent to the people of Al-Ubaid? Found primarily in burial sites and domestic dwellings, these figurines have been made from a variety of materials, including clay and sometimes stone. The more remarkable pieces are often decorated with intricate patterns, and some feature eyes that seem unnervingly lifelike for such ancient creations. While they are found in considerable quantities at Al-Ubaid sites, their meaning remains elusive, and scholars have yet to come to a consensus on their true purpose. On one hand, the figurines may have been symbolic representations of lizards as a natural creature, something that held significance in the Al-Ubaid worldview. Lizards are, after all, creatures of the earth, skilled at navigating both the land and the shadows. In many ancient cultures, reptiles were associated with transformation, regeneration, and rebirth due to their ability to shed skin. Could these figurines then represent some deeper, spiritual connection to these themes? Could the Al-Ubaid people have viewed lizards as agents of change, perhaps embodying the cyclical nature of life and death? However, there is more to these figurines than simple symbolism. Archaeologists have noted that the Al-Ubaid lizard figurines often seem to share certain traits that might suggest they were not merely artistic representations of a local fauna. Some researchers have pointed out the uncanny resemblance between the stylized lizards and creatures found in other ancient mythologies, from the serpent gods of Mesopotamia to the reptilian deities worshipped in cultures far removed from Al-Ubaid. Did these figures possess a connection to a larger, shared mythological tradition that spanned time and space? In fact, some have speculated that the figurines could be a form of ancient ritualistic object, possibly linked to religious practices or belief systems. The Al-Ubaid people, like other early cultures of Mesopotamia, are believed to have had complex religious practices, with a pantheon of gods and spirits that governed various aspects of their lives. The presence of these lizard figurines in burial contexts is especially intriguing. Could they have served as offerings to the gods or been placed as protectors of the dead? Were they symbols of fertility or guardianship, ensuring safe passage to the afterlife, or perhaps representing a connection to the divine? What is particularly curious is the widespread presence of these lizard figurines across different Al-Ubaid sites. Their ubiquity suggests that they were not just an isolated cultural artifact, but a symbol that transcended regional boundaries within the early Mesopotamian world. This raises the possibility that the figurines may have been part of a much larger network of shared cultural practices, perhaps even suggesting trade, migration, or the transmission of knowledge across vast distances. Were the Al-Ubaid people alone in their reverence for the lizard, or did other ancient civilizations also hold these creatures in high regard? The discovery of these figurines has also ignited more speculative theories, some of which venture into the realm of the unexplained. A few researchers, intrigued by the unusual nature of the figurines, have suggested that the lizard imagery might be a representation of something entirely outside the natural world, perhaps even a glimpse into ancient encounters with otherworldly beings. It is a theory, of course, grounded more in the imagination than in concrete evidence, but it speaks to the ongoing fascination with the ancient world's mysteries. Could the lizards depicted in these figurines have been symbolic of an encounter with beings from beyond the stars? Or perhaps they were representations of divine messengers, intermediaries between gods and humans. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Al-Ubaid lizard figurines is what they reveal about the culture that created them. The Al-Ubaid people were among the earliest known inhabitants of southern Mesopotamia, a region that would later give rise to the great cities of Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon. In this sense, the figurines offer a glimpse into a world that predates written history, a world where symbols, objects, and rituals carried meanings that have since been lost to time. How much of the Al-Ubaid belief system can we really know? Were these figurines part of a larger cosmological narrative, a story woven into the fabric of daily life? The fact that the lizard figurines appear in burial contexts and domestic settings suggests that they may have held a dual role, one as a ritualistic object for the dead and another as a talisman for the living. Could they have served as both a protective symbol and a means of ensuring that the forces of nature, represented by the lizard, were with the people in life as well as in death? As we stand before these diminutive, enigmatic artifacts, their true purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Were they simply representations of the Al-Ubaid people's fascination with the creatures of their environment, or were they deeply spiritual objects tied to the very fabric of their beliefs and worldview? The answers may lie hidden in the sands of time, waiting for future generations to unearth more clues and piece together the meaning behind these ancient figurines. One thing is certain: the Al-Ubaid lizard figurines are a testament to a time long past, a world whose beliefs and practices we can only begin to understand. And as we ponder the role these figurines played in the lives of the people who crafted them, we are left to wonder, what other mysteries remain hidden beneath the surface of ancient cultures, waiting for the right questions to bring them into the light? In the arid landscapes of the Near East, scattered across the forgotten sands of time, ancient figurines have been discovered, small, intricately sculpted figures that evoke an eerie sense of familiarity and wonder. Among the most puzzling of these discoveries are the NEFILIM figurines, relics whose existence blurs the lines between myth and history. They are small, often clay or stone figures, bearing exaggerated features, tall, with broad faces, large eyes, and elongated limbs. Some appear human, while others are more fantastical, blending traits of both humans and creatures of legend. These figures, with their enigmatic expressions, seem to hold secrets beyond their simple forms, suggesting that they were not mere toys or idols, but something more significant, something that connects the ancient past with the stories that have shaped our world. The NEFILIM figurines, discovered primarily in the ancient archaeological sites of the Near East, are tied to one of the oldest and most pervasive legends in human history: the story of the NEFILIM. The NEFILIM are mysterious beings mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis, where they are described as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. The ambiguity surrounding their nature has given rise to centuries of speculation, with some interpreting them as fallen angels, others as giant human hybrids, and still others as divine beings descended to Earth. The figurines themselves, though not directly referenced in the biblical texts, seem to echo these ancient myths, appearing in places that were once part of the great empires of the ancient Near East. Often, they are found in burial sites, suggesting a possible connection to rituals or worship. The materials used in their construction vary. Some are made of clay, others of stone, while some have been found to be crafted from more rare substances like bone or ivory. The craftsmanship of these figurines varies greatly, with some possessing detailed, almost lifelike features, while others are more abstract and crude in their depiction. What immediately strikes archaeologists and researchers about these figurines is their size and their proportions. The Nephilim, as described in ancient texts, were giants, beings of extraordinary size, and the figurines often reflect this idea with their exaggerated features. Tall, imposing, and almost alien in their design, they do not resemble the typical depictions of gods or rulers found in other ancient artifacts. Instead, they appear to represent a category of beings that exists somewhere between the divine and the earthly, between myth and reality. The question that arises immediately is whether these figurines were created to represent the Nephilim themselves or whether they were intended to invoke the myth of these creatures. Were they idols, venerated for their connection to these beings of legend? Or were they simply artistic interpretations of a culture's understanding of these ancient stories? The role of these figurines in the daily lives of those who created them remains shrouded in mystery, as there are few records from the time that offer concrete answers. Some scholars suggest that the figurines may have been used in ritualistic practices, perhaps in attempts to invoke the power of the Nephilim, or to honor these beings as deities. After all, ancient cultures often used idols and figurines to represent their gods, or to channel divine influence in their lives. These figurines, with their otherworldly appearance, may have been seen as conduits between the earthly realm and the divine, or the supernatural. The Nephilim, being so intricately tied to the heavens and the earth, might have been seen as intermediaries, bridging the gap between human civilization and the divine forces that governed it. But the Nephilim figurines' connection to the Nephilim mythos is not the only aspect that sparks intrigue. The figures also raise questions about the broader cultural context in which they were created. The Near East, during the time these figurines were made, was home to many advanced civilizations, including the Sumerians, Babylonians, and later, the Israelites. Each of these cultures had a rich tradition of mythology and religious belief, and many of their stories share common threads. The myth of the Nephilim is one such thread, appearing in various forms across different cultures. In the Sumerian tradition, for example, we find the story of the Anunnaki, deities that descended from the heavens to interact with humanity, often depicted as giants or as beings of great power. Some theorists suggest that the Nephilim may be an interpretation or evolution of these earlier myths, and that the figurines found in the region could be a cultural artifact that was passed down from one civilization to the next. The idea that ancient peoples shared a common understanding of these divine beings, whether interpreted as gods, giants, or fallen angels, is one that has intrigued researchers for centuries. Then there are the more speculative interpretations that emerge when examining the Nephilim figurines. Some fringe theorists have suggested that these figures could be representations of extraterrestrial visitors, beings from another world who, according to some interpretations of ancient texts, may have been responsible for the creation of human civilization itself. The idea that the Nephilim were, in fact, alien beings who interacted with humanity in the distant past is one that has been popularized by modern theories of ancient astronauts. Could these figurines, with their distinct features, be a reflection of this interaction? Were the ancient creators of these figurines attempting to document an encounter with beings from another world, embedding their knowledge in the artwork of their time? However, while these theories are captivating, they remain speculative at best, with no definitive evidence to support such claims. What is clear, though, is that the Nephilim figurines continue to evoke a sense of mystery, and their presence in ancient archaeological sites suggests they were of some importance to the cultures that created them. Their exaggerated features and connections to ancient myths suggest they were not simply decorative objects, but held deeper symbolic meaning, perhaps representing divine or supernatural beings that transcended the ordinary world. The mystery of the Nephilim figurines, like so many other unexplained archaeological discoveries, invites more questions than it answers. Were these figures meant to represent a real, historical encounter with the divine or supernatural? Or were they a reflection of the ancient people's belief in beings from beyond their world, be it gods, giants, or visitors from the stars? As we continue to uncover the remnants of past civilizations, we are left to wonder what other hidden secrets the Earth holds, secrets that may one day shed light on the truth behind these mysterious figurines. Perhaps, as with many ancient artifacts, the true story of the Nephilim figurines will remain lost to time, their meaning known only to those who lived long ago. But as we gaze upon these enigmatic objects, we cannot help but wonder, what else remains hidden, waiting for discovery, just beneath the surface of history? Scattered across Europe, from the rolling hills of the English countryside to the ancient cities of the Roman Empire, a peculiar object has quietly intrigued archaeologists and historians for centuries: the Roman dodecahedron. At first glance, it appears simple: a small, hollow object made of bronze or stone with 12 flat faces, each with a circular hole in the center. Yet, when placed in the palm of the hand, the mystery deepens. The faces are perfectly geometric, the edges sharp, and the size of each dodecahedron varies, from small enough to fit into a hand to large objects that require both hands to lift. Some may wonder why such a small, unassuming object has baffled so many. The answer lies in the questions it raises. Who created it? What was its purpose? Why did the Romans, a civilization known for its technological advancements and architectural feats, produce such a mysterious artifact, and why did they create so many of them? The first recorded discovery of a Roman dodecahedron was in the 18th century in a town in northern Europe, but since then, hundreds have been unearthed in various locations, spanning the width and breadth of the Roman Empire. They have been found in places as far-flung as France, Germany, Switzerland, and the UK. Yet, despite their widespread presence, their true purpose remains elusive. Some scholars have suggested that these objects were used for practical purposes, such as a type of measuring tool for surveying, or perhaps even a device used by Roman military units. Others, however, believe that the dodecahedrons may have been something far more symbolic, objects of ritual or mystical significance. Let us pause for a moment to consider what we do know about these enigmatic objects. The Roman dodecahedron is undeniably a sophisticated piece of craftsmanship. Its precise geometry hints at an advanced understanding of mathematics, and the fact that it has been found across such a wide geographical area points to its importance, or at least to its widespread use. But what was the reason behind its creation? And more importantly, why is there so much uncertainty surrounding its true function? Some archaeologists believe that the dodecahedrons were instruments used in the Roman military. Their design is such that it could fit over a pole, and many suggest that they were used as a type of measuring device, perhaps for calculating distances, surveying land, or mapping out military campaigns. The 12 faces, each with a hole of varying size, could be seen as an early form of sighting tool, allowing Roman engineers or military tacticians to line up targets or measure angles in the field. But this theory, although intriguing, raises questions of its own. No definitive examples of their use in any engineering texts or military manuals from Roman times have ever been found. Moreover, it is not clear how the varying sizes of the holes in the dodecahedrons would have assisted in such tasks. There is also the issue of the material used. The objects are often made of bronze or stone, materials that, while certainly durable, don't lend themselves easily to the task of precise engineering or measurement in the way that a modern instrument would. It leaves us wondering if the true purpose could be something altogether different. Moving away from the practical explanations, some researchers turn to the realm of the symbolic and the mystical. The dodecahedron structure, its 12 faces, each of which can be seen as representing a point of the compass or the 12 months of the year, suggests that it might have had some ritualistic significance. The Romans were a deeply religious people, and their rituals were intertwined with every facet of life, from military conquests to agricultural practices, from social gatherings to personal beliefs. Could the dodecahedron have been a symbol of the cosmos, representing the interconnectedness of all things in the universe? Some scholars speculate that the object could have been used in divination practices, guiding individuals or priests in their interpretations of fate, fortune, and the movements of the stars. There are also those who argue that the dodecahedron was a representation of the zodiac, or a celestial map, reflecting the 12 constellations that were of importance to the ancient Romans. In this view, the object might have been used in rituals to align individuals with the stars, possibly as a method of astrology or to mark the passage of time. The holes on the dodecahedron might have been used to align the object with the position of the sun, moon, or stars, guiding a priest or a sage in their spiritual practices. This theory leans heavily into the mysticism of the object, suggesting that it was far more than a simple tool. It was a conduit to the divine, a way to connect the material world with the heavens. Yet, even as these theories remain compelling, there are still many who believe that the true purpose of the Roman dodecahedron may never be fully understood. Could it have served a role that we simply cannot fathom due to the gap in time and cultural understanding? Could it be that the dodecahedron was a tool for something so specific, so deeply embedded in the Roman world, that it defies our attempts to categorize it with modern concepts? Even more thought-provoking is the possibility that the dodecahedron represents something far beyond the practical or the mystical. Could this object, in some way, be connected to ideas or knowledge that the Romans had inherited from lost civilizations, from cultures whose understanding of geometry, astronomy, or even metaphysics was far beyond what we can comprehend today? The Roman dodecahedron is a symbol of the great mysteries of our past. Like many archaeological artifacts, it both fascinates and frustrates us. We look at it, and we try to piece together its purpose, using the fragments of knowledge we have, yet the puzzle remains incomplete. The unanswered questions: what was its true function? Why was it so widespread? What did it represent? These are questions that linger, reminding us that history is far from fully understood. As we continue to search for answers, the Roman dodecahedron stands as a reminder that, sometimes, the most profound mysteries remain hidden just beneath the surface. Will we ever uncover the full truth behind its design and purpose? Or will it forever remain an enigma, challenging our understanding of the ancient world? In the heart of Egypt, nestled along the ancient Nile River, lies a remarkable artifact, an unfinished obelisk, partially hewn from the bedrock of Aswan. This colossal structure, abandoned long before its completion, has captured the imagination of archaeologists, historians, and curious onlookers alike. The sight of it is both awe-inspiring and haunting. The obelisk sits in the granite quarries of Aswan, a location historically known for supplying the stone that built some of Egypt's most iconic monuments. Its dimensions, had it been completed, would have made it the largest obelisk ever attempted, standing over 41 meters tall and weighing approximately 1,200 tons. To look at it today is to glimpse the scale of ancient ambition, frozen in time, its surface etched with the marks of ancient tools, yet unfinished, as though it were a monument to the very limits of human perseverance and skill. But the mystery surrounding the unfinished obelisk is not just in its size, it lies in the circumstances of its abandonment. How could something so monumental have been left incomplete? Was it due to technical challenges, a shift in royal favor, or something more inscrutable? The answers to these questions are far from straightforward, and the true story of the unfinished obelisk is still waiting to be uncovered. The obelisk's unfinished state is itself a curious anomaly in the grand sweep of Egyptian construction. Throughout the history of ancient Egypt, obelisks were seen as symbols of the sun god Ra, towering monuments meant to capture the rays of the sun and reflect divine power. These stone structures were meticulously crafted and often transported great distances to adorn the temples of Egypt. Yet, here in Aswan, in the very place where the stone for these grand monuments was extracted, an obelisk lies half-formed, as though abandoned in mid-creation. The most widely accepted explanation for the unfinished state of the obelisk is that it encountered a series of technical difficulties during its construction. Aswan's granite is known to be a difficult material to work with, and the process of shaping such a massive stone structure would have been an incredibly challenging task. The marks on the surface of the obelisk show signs of the tools used by ancient workers: copper chisels, hammers, and wooden wedges, indicating that the artisans were using the best methods they had at their disposal. Yet, despite their efforts, the stone proved too difficult to fully free from the bedrock. The vertical cracks that appear to run through the granite suggest that, at some point, the obelisk began to split along a natural fault line, making it increasingly unstable. This would have made it difficult to remove the obelisk without risking catastrophic failure. It's possible that, realizing the risks involved, the workers abandoned the project, leaving the obelisk in its current state. There is a certain practicality to this explanation. After all, the ancient Egyptians were no strangers to grand construction projects, and the idea that a single obelisk could be abandoned due to unforeseen complications seems plausible. Yet, this explanation, while logical, does not account for all the unanswered questions that linger over the site. If we move beyond the realm of technical difficulties, other theories begin to surface, some more speculative, others grounded in the realm of the mystical. One possibility is that the unfinished obelisk was abandoned due to the death of the pharaoh who commissioned it. Throughout Egyptian history, rulers were known for initiating grand architectural projects, many of which were intended to serve as monuments to their power and divinity. What if the pharaoh who ordered the construction of this obelisk passed away before its completion? Without the royal patronage, the project could have lost its purpose, causing it to be abandoned in the quarry. In this scenario, the obelisk stands as a silent testament to the ambitions of a ruler lost to time. Could it have been the vision of a king whose reign was cut short? The site itself offers no clear indication of who the original patron was, leaving us to wonder which pharaoh might have been behind such a monumental undertaking. Some researchers have also suggested that the unfinished obelisk could be linked to a shift in religious or political ideologies during the period in which it was being constructed. Could the obelisk have been an attempt to create a symbol of the sun, god Ra, on a scale never before imagined, only to be abandoned when religious priorities shifted? The complex relationship between Egypt's changing dynasties and their religious practices is still a subject of much debate, and it's possible that the obelisk was simply one victim of a larger shift in cultural values. Then, there are the more mystical and fringe theories. Some claim that the unfinished obelisk might not have been abandoned due to technical limitations at all. What if the workers had completed the carving and transport, but were struck by a sudden and unforeseen event, something that was out of their control? Could the unfinished obelisk be a symbol of a lost knowledge, an ancient technology too advanced for the period? Some have suggested that the ancient Egyptians, or perhaps even civilizations that preceded them, may have possessed technologies or methods for quarrying and working stone that have since been lost to history. The precision with which the ancient Egyptians shaped their stone monuments is still a marvel of engineering, and there are those who argue that such skills may have been more advanced than what we currently understand. Could the unfinished obelisk be an artifact that hints at a forgotten chapter of technological achievement, now lost to time? Others have gone even further, proposing that the obelisk is not a symbol of human ambition at all, but rather an artifact of extraterrestrial origin. The idea that ancient civilizations had contact with beings from other worlds has been a persistent theme in speculative archaeology. Could the obelisk, with its unusual size and the apparent difficulty in its construction, be the result of an attempt to replicate technologies or knowledge that came from outside our planet? Despite all the theories, one thing remains clear. The unfinished obelisk of Aswan is a mystery that continues to captivate and intrigue. Its scale, its abrupt abandonment, and the questions it raises about ancient Egyptian construction methods all combine to create an enigma that has yet to be fully explained. Was it simply the victim of technical challenges? Was it abandoned due to political or religious upheaval? Or does it hold a secret about ancient knowledge that has slipped through the cracks of history? As we stand before this colossal monument to ambition and abandonment, we are left with more questions than answers. What might still be hidden beneath the surface of this unfinished stone? And what other secrets of ancient Egypt are waiting to be uncovered, lying dormant in the sands of time? Hidden within the ancient ruins of Babylon, near the modern-day city of Baghdad in Iraq, lies a curious set of artifacts that have intrigued archaeologists and historians for over a century. Known as the Baghdad batteries, these small clay jars have sparked heated debate over their true purpose and significance. At first glance, they appear to be nothing more than unassuming, rudimentary vessels, nothing more than ancient pottery. Yet, as with many objects from the distant past, there is something deeper lurking beneath the surface, something that remains tantalizingly elusive. The Baghdad batteries consist of a series of ceramic pots, each containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. The pots, dating back to roughly 2,000 years ago, were discovered in the 1930s by German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, who unearthed them in the ruins of the ancient city of Ctesiphon near Baghdad. While they may seem like simple containers, a closer inspection reveals that they share a striking resemblance to a rudimentary form of galvanic cell, an early type of battery capable of generating electrical current. This strange configuration of copper and iron enclosed within clay immediately raises questions. Could these ancient artifacts have been used as some form of electrical device? Was there a forgotten technology at play here, far beyond what we believe the people of Mesopotamia were capable of? Or could these objects have had an entirely different, more mundane purpose that we have yet to understand? The most widely accepted explanation is that these so-called batteries were not used for electrical power at all. Some scholars argue that they were ceremonial objects, perhaps intended for religious rituals or symbolic purposes. The idea is that these vessels were used to store sacred or healing liquids, with the metal components inside serving as simple tools for preservation rather than power generation. But as the mystery surrounding the Baghdad batteries deepens, this explanation starts to seem less satisfactory. After all, the copper cylinder and iron rod, if they had been used to contain or store liquid, would have shown signs of corrosion and damage, yet they appear to be in relatively good condition. Moreover, the presence of these materials and their specific arrangement within the vessels seems too deliberate to be accidental. Could the builders of these objects have known how to harness the principles of electrical currents in ways that we do not yet fully understand? This is where things take a more speculative turn. The theory that the Baghdad batteries were used as primitive batteries is one that has captured the imagination of many. If this theory were true, it would imply that ancient civilizations, long before the development of modern electrical engineering, had discovered a form of electricity. But what evidence supports this bold claim? Could the ancient Mesopotamians have stumbled upon the basic principles of electrochemistry, harnessing the power of copper and iron to generate a rudimentary electrical charge? A closer examination of the Baghdad batteries suggests that they may indeed have been capable of generating electricity. When a mild acid, such as vinegar or lemon juice, is placed inside the vessels, a small current is produced between the copper and iron elements, just as it would in a modern-day battery. This discovery has led some to believe that the ancient builders of these artifacts may have intentionally designed them for use in electroplating, a process in which metal is coated with another metal using electrical current. Electroplating was not widely known until the 19th century, yet here, in these ancient pots, we may be seeing evidence of a technique that predates its rediscovery by millennia. But there are other, more peculiar explanations for the existence of the Baghdad batteries that venture further into the realm of mystery. Some have suggested that these objects were not used for practical purposes at all, but instead served as part of a lost form of advanced technology, perhaps even a precursor to something far more complex, an artifact from a forgotten civilization whose knowledge of electrical power has been lost to time. Could these ancient people have had access to technologies that we can barely comprehend today, only for their discoveries to be buried in the sands of history? Others have gone even further, speculating that the Baghdad batteries were not of earthly origin at all. In line with various theories about extraterrestrial contact in ancient history, some have posited that these objects were the result of knowledge passed down from visitors from another world. These theories are, of course, highly speculative and are not taken seriously by mainstream archaeologists or scientists. Yet they tap into a deep-seated desire to understand the mysteries of the past, especially when it comes to seemingly inexplicable discoveries such as the Baghdad batteries. What is particularly fascinating about the Baghdad batteries is that, despite decades of research, no definitive conclusion has been reached. Were they used to generate power? Were they part of an ancient technological system that we are only beginning to understand? Or were they simply ceremonial objects, their true purpose lost to the ravages of time? The fact that we cannot answer these questions with certainty only adds to their allure, as we are left to wonder what secrets they might still hold. Perhaps, as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the ancient world, the Baghdad batteries will eventually reveal their true purpose. Or perhaps they will remain one of the great unsolved puzzles of archaeology, a reminder that, despite our technological advancements, there are still pieces of the past that elude our grasp. What might have inspired the creation of these strange objects? Could they be part of a larger, lost history of ancient technology? Or are they simply the product of a culture whose understanding of the world was different from our own? As we stand before these enigmatic vessels, we are reminded that history is full of unanswered questions. The Baghdad batteries, much like many other archaeological mysteries, invite us to look deeper, to question what we think we know, and to wonder about the possibilities that may still lie hidden beneath the surface of time. Nestled within the serene rolling plains of eastern Germany, just south of the town of GOSECK, lies a circular structure that, for centuries, has stood as a silent witness to the unfolding of human history. The GOSECK Circle, one of the oldest known solar observatories in Europe, quietly beckons the curious, holding within its ancient stones the secrets of an advanced understanding of time and the cosmos. At first glance, the GOSECK Circle appears almost unassuming, just another set of megalithic remnants in the vast landscape of prehistoric Europe. But as archaeologists and researchers have discovered, this ancient site is far more than it seems. What was once believed to be a mere collection of stones has revealed itself to be an intricate and purposeful construction, precisely aligned with the movements of the sun. The site, which dates back to around 5,000 years ago, belongs to the Neolithic period, and its design suggests that its creators possessed not only a remarkable understanding of astronomy, but also the ability to align their environment with the celestial movements that governed their lives. The GOSECK circle is a perfect circle, measuring approximately 75 meters in diameter, surrounded by a ditch and a series of concentric timber palisades. In its center stands a set of posts, marking the axis around which the entire structure is arranged. What sets this site apart from other prehistoric monuments, however, is its precision, particularly its alignment with the sun's movement during the winter solstice. On this day, the shortest day of the year, the sun rises and sets in exact alignment with the entrance of the circle, a phenomenon that suggests the GOSECK circle may have been used as a kind of calendar, tracking the solar cycle with remarkable accuracy. This level of astronomical knowledge raises a fascinating question. How did the people who built the GOSECK circle acquire such an intricate understanding of the natural world? It seems unlikely that they merely stumbled upon the concept of solstices and equinoxes by chance. Instead, it points to a deeper, more purposeful connection between these ancient builders and the skies above. Could the GOSECK circle have been part of an even larger network of astronomical observatories across ancient Europe? Was there a tradition of celestial observation that we have yet to fully understand? The mainstream explanation is that the GOSECK circle served as a ritualistic site, a center for observing the movements of the sun to mark the changing of the seasons, perhaps with religious or agricultural significance. This theory is supported by the fact that other similar structures from the same period, like Stonehenge and the Ring of Brodgar in Scotland, share similar astronomical alignments. It is plausible that the GOSECK circle, like these other sites, was used for ceremonial purposes, possibly tied to harvests, fertility rites, or the worship of solar deities. Yet, the GOSECK circle's precise construction, coupled with its alignment with such an important celestial event, hints at something more. Some researchers speculate that this site might have been part of a larger cultural or technological exchange network, where communities shared knowledge of astronomical observation and mathematical principles long before written records. Could it be that the builders of the GOSECK circle were not only marking the seasons, but also harnessing a deeper, more profound knowledge of the cosmos that extended beyond agriculture or religious ritual? Even more intriguing is the question of what this knowledge was used for. Was the GOSECK circle simply a site for observing and marking time, or did it have a more practical function? Some have proposed that it could have been used to track lunar cycles as well, a key element in ancient calendrical systems. Others have suggested that the GOSECK circle may have served as an early form of astronomical education, a place where the mysteries of the stars were passed down to the next generation, or even a site for complex astronomical rituals aimed at ensuring the community's survival. As with many ancient structures, the true purpose of the GOSECK circle remains elusive. Its alignment with the sun is undeniable, yet we can only speculate as to whether this was purely ceremonial or whether it was part of a larger, more intricate understanding of the universe. Could it have been a tool for a sophisticated form of timekeeping, as some have argued, perhaps used to predict celestial events far in advance? Or was it an object of worship, a way of bringing the community into harmony with the natural rhythms of the earth and sky? And if we look beyond the mainstream interpretations, there are even more fringe theories. Some have suggested that the GOSECK circle could have been connected to a long-lost civilization with an advanced understanding of astronomy, perhaps even one that predated the rise of Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations. Others have raised the possibility that this structure, along with similar sites, was part of a widespread network of sacred locations, each one aligned to specific celestial phenomena, perhaps serving a global purpose that we are only now beginning to unravel. The GOSECK circle is not just a relic of the past. It is a puzzle that still holds many of its pieces just out of reach. As we study it, we are reminded that even as we uncover the layers of human history, some questions remain unanswered, some mysteries still unsolved. What did the people of GOSECK understand about the world that we have forgotten or never known? What did they see in the movements of the stars that we have yet to fully grasp? And so, as we stand before the weathered stones of the GOSECK circle, we are left with a sense of wonder, knowing that while we may have uncovered much, the answers to some of humanity's oldest questions remain just beyond our reach. The circle itself remains a testament to the ingenuity of ancient minds, a mystery that continues to beckon us toward a deeper understanding of our place in the cosmos. Nestled in the heart of Mesoamerica, amid the ruins of ancient cities and sprawling jungles, a set of curious artifacts continues to captivate archaeologists and enthusiasts alike. These are the Mesoamerican tripod vessels, distinct ceramic pieces that have appeared in the ancient civilizations of the Maya, Zapotec, and Olmec. Their striking design, combined with their mysterious origins and purposes, has sparked centuries of speculation. The vessels, generally small and footed, stand on three sturdy legs, hence the name tripod. Their surfaces are often adorned with intricate designs, including geometric patterns, animal motifs, and occasionally even faces, lending them an almost otherworldly appearance. But what makes these vessels particularly intriguing is the lack of definitive understanding regarding their function. While their shape suggests they were used for practical purposes, perhaps as containers for liquids or food, the true reason behind their design remains elusive. What did these vessels mean to the ancient people who crafted them? Were they purely utilitarian, or did they have a more sacred, ceremonial purpose? The most commonly accepted theory is that these vessels served as ceremonial objects. Their distinct form and decorated surfaces indicate that they were likely used in religious or ritual contexts, perhaps to hold offerings for gods or to serve as vessels in sacred feasts. The Maya, known for their complex belief systems and elaborate ceremonies, may have seen these tripod vessels as tools to communicate with the divine. After all, in Mesoamerican cultures, the act of eating or drinking was often imbued with deep spiritual significance. The tripod design itself, with its stable base, might have symbolized balance and order, two concepts that were essential in the cosmology of these ancient civilizations. Yet, as with many archaeological discoveries, the tripod vessels are far more than they appear at first glance. Some scholars believe that their function may have extended beyond mere religious symbolism. In certain regions, these vessels have been found in contexts suggesting that they were used in funerary practices, perhaps as part of burial rituals, where they could have been placed beside the deceased as offerings for the journey to the afterlife. In these cases, the vessel's sturdy, stable design could represent a sense of permanence, an anchor for the deceased's soul as it moved into the next world. But as the mystery deepens, so do the questions. If the vessels were meant solely for ceremonial use, why did they appear in such a wide variety of forms and sizes? Some have been found in homes, suggesting they might have also served a domestic purpose. Could these vessels, with their tripod design, have been used for something as simple as cooking or holding water in daily life? It is possible, but the elaborate artistry on many of the vessels raises further doubts. Why take the time to craft something so ornate for something as mundane as a cooking pot? Could it be that the tripod vessels held a different kind of significance, one that transcended the practical? The very structure of the vessels, designed to stand firmly on three legs, could imply a deeper, more profound meaning. Some have suggested that the tripod design might reflect the Mesoamerican concept of the three-part world, the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. If so, the vessels could symbolize a bridge between the realms, serving as tools for spiritual transition or cosmic balance. This theory, while speculative, finds some support in the complex religious beliefs of the ancient Mesoamerican people, who often viewed their world through a lens of dualities and cycles. Even more intriguing is the possibility that these vessels could have been used in some form of ritualistic practice that we have yet to fully understand. The shape and decoration of the vessels vary widely, with some bearing intricate representations of animals, gods, or mythological figures. In certain instances, the presence of animal motifs, particularly birds and jaguars, could suggest that the vessels were tied to specific deities or aspects of nature. The jaguar, for example, was a powerful symbol in Mesoamerican cultures, often associated with the underworld and with the shamanic journey. Could these vessels have been used in rites designed to connect with these powerful spirits? But there is another, more curious possibility that looms in the background of this mystery. What if these vessels were part of a more complex cosmological system, one that we are only beginning to uncover? Some fringe theories posit that the tripod vessels were not just religious or ceremonial tools, but might have had a far more advanced purpose, perhaps even a scientific or astronomical one. After all, Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Maya, were known for their sophisticated understanding of the stars, time, and the movements of celestial bodies. Could these vessels, with their stable, three-legged design, have been used in astronomical observations or calculations in ways we have yet to grasp? Was there a purpose to their design that goes beyond the scope of known Mesoamerican religion and ritual? The enigma of the tripod vessels remains an open question, one that continues to elude clear answers. We may never fully understand the meaning behind their intricate forms and the ritual significance they held. However, the presence of these vessels in Mesoamerican sites across centuries offers a glimpse into a worldview that was deeply connected to the forces of nature and the unseen realms. Through their creation, these ancient people left behind not just physical objects, but symbols that still speak to us across millennia, hinting at a knowledge and spirituality far more complex than we may yet comprehend. And so, we are left to wonder, what do these vessels truly represent? Were they simply ceremonial objects, or do they hold a deeper, more esoteric meaning? Was their design inspired by something we have yet to understand? Perhaps an ancient connection to the natural world, the cosmos, or even something beyond our current grasp of knowledge? As we continue to explore the mysteries of the Mesoamerican tripod vessels, we are reminded that, like many ancient artifacts, their true significance may remain just out of reach, forever inviting us to seek answers in the spaces between what we know and what we have yet to discover. Along the rugged coastline of Japan, standing tall against the windswept shores, a series of ancient stones silently bear witness to a long-forgotten history. These are the tsunami stones, stone monuments scattered across the landscape, inscribed with warnings about the destructive power of tsunamis. Erected centuries ago, their presence raises an unsettling question. How did the people who placed them here know the profound and violent force of tsunamis long before modern scientific understanding? The stones, often found in the coastal regions of Japan, are unassuming at first glance. Some are simple granite slabs, while others are large boulders, their surfaces etched with inscriptions, many of which have worn with age. These stones, however, are not just ordinary markers. They were placed deliberately by communities who had lived through, or perhaps even witnessed, catastrophic waves of water crashing onto the land. Each inscription, often a set of instructions or warnings, offers a chilling glimpse into an ancient understanding of the dangers posed by the sea. The tsunami stones are not a singular phenomenon. They are scattered across Japan's eastern and northern coasts, from the island of Honshu to the shores of the Tohoku region. Some of these stones are believed to date back as far as the 16th century, while others are more recent, erected as recently as the early 20th century. Each one bears a message, etched in kanji, which seems to urge future generations to heed the lessons of the past. Do not build houses below this point, or this is the highest point reached by the tsunami of the year. The messages are clear and serve as direct warnings, as though the stones themselves are guardians, standing as silent sentinels against the fury of the ocean. What is most remarkable about these stones is that their origins appear to be rooted in the collective memory of ancient tsunamis. The communities who created these markers must have endured frequent natural disasters, perhaps even entire generations wiped out by the devastating force of tsunamis. The fact that these monuments were erected suggests a deep understanding of the ocean's capricious nature, an understanding passed down through the generations, embedded into the very fabric of Japanese coastal society. But how did these communities know to place such stones in the first place? Was it purely empirical observation, or was there a deeper, more profound knowledge at play? The most well-known of these stones is the one located in the coastal town of Anayoshi in the Iwate Prefecture. Erected after the 1896 Meiji Sanriku earthquake and tsunami, this stone, with its inscription urging future generations to stay above the designated line, offers one of the most poignant and sobering reminders of the power of the sea. What makes this stone particularly eerie is that, after the catastrophic tsunami of 2011, one of the worst in Japanese history, the village of Anayoshi, despite being in the path of the wave, was spared. Local residents had followed the advice inscribed on the stone, retreating to higher ground before the wave arrived. In this instance, the stone's warning proved prophetic, saving countless lives. Yet, as awe-inspiring as these stones are, they also bring with them a sense of unease. They raise questions about the extent to which ancient peoples understood the natural world. How did these communities know to place their homes just above the highest points marked by the stones? Were their warnings based on oral histories passed down through generations, or did they have an awareness of seismic activity that we have yet to fully understand? It's almost as though they were tapping into some kind of ancestral knowledge, an unspoken awareness of the Earth's volatile nature. Some have suggested that these stones may represent an ancient form of collective memory, a way of preserving not only warnings, but also the stories of tsunamis that wiped out entire communities. Could these markers have been tied to larger ritualistic practices, perhaps an attempt to appease the gods of the sea, or to create a sense of cosmic balance between humans and nature? Were they a reminder of the precariousness of life on the edge of the ocean, a testament to the vulnerability of coastal life? In certain cases, some of the inscriptions on the stones are accompanied by other forms of documentation, such as wooden plaques or written records, which describe specific events in history, including the names of those who perished during the tsunamis. These personal accounts seem to link the stones directly to the collective experience of these catastrophic events, allowing future generations to remember not only the physical destruction, but the human cost as well. The connection between the stones and human survival is profound, as if the stones themselves had become imbued with the memory of those who lived and died by the sea. However, there is still much that remains unanswered about these ancient markers. Some have speculated that the stones may have been part of a larger network of early warning systems designed to protect the people from natural disasters. Could the stones have served as part of a broader community network, perhaps even a system of communication that stretched across multiple villages, alerting them to the dangers of incoming tsunamis? Others have questioned whether the stones themselves might have been part of a more elaborate understanding of time, memory, and natural cycles, an understanding that is now lost to us. The stones are not just geological features, they are symbols of human resilience and an enigmatic form of wisdom. They speak to the delicate relationship between humankind and nature, a relationship defined by respect, fear, and reverence. But the stones also point to something else, the possibility that, even in ancient times, people had an awareness of the Earth's shifting dynamics that we might still struggle to comprehend. As we stand before these ancient tsunami stones, we are left with a profound sense of wonder and curiosity. These stones, quietly marking the edges of the land, continue to hold their secrets, inviting us to look deeper into the past. What if the wisdom of these warnings, passed down over centuries, is not simply an echo of the past, but a message for the future as well? What if, in the face of our modern understanding of the Earth's power, we are still missing some of the lessons that these ancient peoples understood so well? The tsunami stones, it seems, are not just relics of history, but profound mysteries, offering us not only glimpses into the past, but also the chance to reconsider the ways we live in harmony with nature today. As the warm Mediterranean breeze sweeps across the Greek countryside, the distant silhouette of a strange and unassuming structure rises from the earth. This is the Pyramid of HELLINIKON, a monumental, enigmatic site that has long eluded clear explanation. Unlike the famous pyramids of Egypt, this pyramid sits quietly in the rural heart of the Peloponnese, in the small village of HELLINIKON, near the ancient city of Argos. At first glance, the pyramid's form is striking yet oddly minimalist. Standing just over 8 meters tall, it is composed of carefully stacked limestone blocks that have weathered the centuries with surprising resilience. The pyramid's base is nearly square, measuring around 10 meters on each side. Its sloped, angular design is immediately recognizable, though its purpose remains a mystery. This modest yet imposing structure seems out of place in the lush greenery of the surrounding valley, as if it has always stood in quiet defiance of the passage of time and the fleeting nature of human understanding. The Pyramid of HELLINIKON has long baffled archaeologists, historians, and explorers. While it is undoubtedly ancient, the exact period of its construction is unclear. Most estimates place its creation around the 4th century BCE, though some suggest it could be much older, possibly as far back as the Mycenaean period. Unlike the grand monuments of Egypt or the Maya, this pyramid does not share the same level of documentation, and there is little written record to help piece together its origin or significance. What is immediately apparent, however, is its location. Situated not far from ancient Greek settlements, the HELLINIKON pyramid could have had connections to the surrounding city-states, though no definitive link has been established. It is a curious feature in a region known more for its temples, theaters, and grand palaces. So, why a pyramid? Why here, of all places? And what purpose could it have served in the context of Greek civilization? The prevailing theory is that the Pyramid of HELLINIKON served as a tomb or memorial. In ancient Greece, monumental tombs were constructed to honor the dead, and it is possible that this pyramid was built to mark the burial site of an important individual or a revered figure, much like the grand burial mounds found in Mycenaean culture. The structure's relatively small size compared to the vast pyramids of Egypt suggests that it may have been a local, rather than national, memorial, dedicated to someone of significant regional importance. Yet, as with many archaeological sites, there are discrepancies and unanswered questions. While the pyramid's form is certainly reminiscent of a tomb, no evidence has been found to support the idea that it contains human remains. Excavations have revealed no trace of a burial chamber inside, nor any funerary artifacts. This lack of physical evidence leads some to question whether the pyramid truly served as a tomb or whether it might have had a different purpose altogether. In fact, the structure's resemblance to other pyramidal structures found across the Mediterranean has led some to speculate that the HELLINIKON pyramid may not have been a burial site at all. Could it have been a temple or a ceremonial site? The pyramid's simplicity and stark design set it apart from the elaborate temples and sanctuaries typically constructed in ancient Greece. Yet there are certain elements that raise the possibility. In particular, the alignment of the pyramid and its position relative to the surrounding landscape suggests that it may have been carefully placed to mark a significant astronomical event or celestial alignment. Could the pyramid have been used as a form of astronomical observatory, or a marker for seasonal festivals and rituals that tied the community to the cycles of the sun and the stars? Others have pointed to the potential connection between the Hellinikon pyramid and the larger tradition of sacred geometry that appears in many ancient civilizations. The precise proportions of the pyramid, its orientation, and its location all hint at a deeper understanding of geometry and the natural world that may have been more widespread in the ancient world than we currently acknowledge. If the pyramid was indeed used for ritual or ceremonial purposes, it is possible that its design was intended to reflect the harmony of the cosmos, a theme that was central to many ancient cultures, including the Greeks. As we delve deeper into the puzzle of the Hellinikon pyramid, it becomes clear that there is much about this structure that remains elusive. Some fringe theories have even suggested that the pyramid could be the work of a lost civilization, an advanced society that predated the known cultures of the ancient Mediterranean. These theories point to the fact that there are no clear connections between the Hellinikon pyramid and any known architectural traditions of ancient Greece, suggesting that its builders could have come from a completely different culture. While this theory remains speculative and unsupported by concrete evidence, it speaks to the wider sense of mystery surrounding the pyramid and its origins. Still, the idea that the Hellinikon pyramid could be the product of a forgotten civilization is one of the more extreme interpretations. More grounded theories suggest that the pyramid may have been influenced by other pyramid-building cultures in the Mediterranean or the Near East. Perhaps it was inspired by the early Egyptian pyramids, or even by the larger tradition of burial mounds and tumuli found in Europe. Yet, despite these possible connections, the Hellinikon pyramid stands apart, enigmatic and alone in its simplicity, defying easy categorization. One of the most striking features of the pyramid is the fact that, despite the many theories, no one has yet been able to definitively determine its original purpose. Was it a tomb, a temple, or something else entirely? And why, after centuries of research and exploration, does this small structure still elude full understanding? What we are left with, then, is a site that speaks to us across millennia, inviting contemplation and speculation. The Pyramid of Hellinikon is a quiet reminder that there are still mysteries buried beneath the surface of the ancient world, puzzles waiting to be solved, secrets yet to be uncovered. As we stand before its weathered stones, we are reminded that the past holds many unsolved questions, and perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain just out of reach, urging us to look deeper into the shadowy recesses of history. Could this pyramid, like so many other ancient sites, hold answers to questions that are simply beyond our current understanding? Only time may tell. High in the arid, wind-swept plains of southern Peru, in the heart of the Nazca Desert, lies a sprawling and enigmatic site, Toro Muerto. Far from the tourist throngs that flock to the famous Nazca lines, this remote location holds its own silent mystery. Here, the earth is marked with thousands of petroglyphs, intricate carvings that stretch across the rocky landscape like an ancient message, preserved through centuries of weathering and time. These petroglyphs, often called the Toro Muerto rock art, are some of the most extensive and impressive examples of pre-Columbian artwork in South America, yet they remain shrouded in mystery. The site itself is starkly beautiful. The rocky surface is dappled with the shadows of scattered boulders, each etched with dozens of figures, geometric shapes, abstract patterns, and stylized depictions of animals and human forms. The sheer number of carvings, over 5,000 individual motifs, immediately suggests a complex and purposeful design. But what did these images mean to the people who created them, and what purpose did they serve? Archaeologists have long speculated about the origins of Toro Muerto's petroglyphs. The carvings are generally attributed to the Nazca culture, who lived in the region between 100 BCE and 800 CE. This was a society known for its remarkable artistry, not only in the petroglyphs of Toro Muerto, but also in their creation of the famous Nazca lines, those vast geoglyphs that stretch across the desert floor and can only be truly appreciated from the sky. Just as the Nazca lines still puzzle researchers with their precision and unclear purpose, the petroglyphs at Toro Muerto continue to evoke similar questions. The figures etched into the rocks at Toro Muerto depict a wide range of subjects. Some carvings appear to represent animals, birds, lizards, snakes, and even large felines that may have held symbolic significance for the Nazca people. Others depict abstract geometric shapes, lines, and spirals, which seem to echo the stylized forms found in the intricate ceramics and textiles of the Nazca culture. Human figures are also prominent, often shown in profiles or in ritualistic poses, their bodies adorned with elaborate headdresses, jewelry, and other adornments. Yet, despite the apparent wealth of detail, the meaning behind these images remains elusive. The petroglyphs at Toro Muerto are clearly not random. They are too deliberate in their composition. But what exactly do they represent? Were they created as a form of communication, marking territory, or documenting important events? Or could they have been linked to religious or spiritual practices, a way to honor the gods or ancestors? Given the region's rich traditions of ritual and ceremonial art, it is certainly plausible that the petroglyphs served as part of a larger religious or cultural narrative. But, as with many archaeological sites, there are no definitive answers. Some scholars believe that the petroglyphs were created as part of a ritualistic tradition, perhaps associated with agricultural cycles. The Nazca people, who lived in one of the driest places on Earth, would have depended on water and the fertility of the land for their survival. It is possible that the figures carved into the rocks were linked to ancient beliefs about water, fertility, and the cyclical nature of life. The jagged, angular shapes may represent sacred geometric forms, and the animals and human figures could symbolize deities, ancestors, or spirits associated with these cycles. However, this theory does not explain all of the imagery. Some of the figures at Toro Muerto are far more abstract in nature, and their meaning is even harder to decipher. There are many curious motifs, swirling lines, spirals, and patterns that seem disconnected from any tangible representation of the natural world. Could these shapes be some form of coded language, an ancient script that has yet to be understood? Or perhaps they were created purely for aesthetic or symbolic reasons, as a way to adorn the landscape with images that had deep personal or collective significance. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Toro Muerto petroglyphs is their sheer scale and density. The site spans over a vast area, and it appears that the petroglyphs were not created all at once. The site likely grew over many generations, with new images added to the rocks over time. This layering effect suggests that Toro Muerto was an important place for a prolonged period, with successive generations returning to the site to add their own marks, preserving both personal and collective histories. But who were the individuals responsible for these carvings? What motivated them to create such elaborate artwork, and why did they choose to carve it into the very rocks of the desert itself? Some more speculative theories take this idea of layering to a different level. Could the petroglyphs be a kind of map, recording the movements of the people, their migrations, or their travels? Or perhaps they represent an early attempt at recording celestial events, the patterns of stars, planets, or constellations, especially given the importance of astronomy to many ancient cultures. Could Toro Muerto have been a ceremonial observatory, a place where the movements of the heavens were etched into the stone to mark specific dates or events? The alignment of certain petroglyphs with the rising and setting of the sun or other celestial bodies has led some researchers to suggest a connection between the art and ancient astronomical knowledge. Other fringe theories, without any solid evidence to back them, even suggests that the petroglyphs could be the work of an advanced, lost civilization that predates the Nazca culture by millennia. Such theories point to the complexity of the carvings and the sophistication of the design, raising the possibility that Toro Muerto could be a remnant of a forgotten people, with knowledge that surpassed what is traditionally attributed to the Nazca. Despite these more speculative ideas, mainstream scholars continue to regard Toro Muerto as a significant site within the broader context of Nazca culture and its artistic traditions. While the site's purpose and meaning remain unknown, there is no denying the incredible effort and skill required to create such a vast and intricate array of carvings. The mystery of Toro Muerto lingers not only because of the unanswered questions surrounding the site's purpose, but also because of the sheer wonder that these ancient petroglyphs provoke. Each carving is a glimpse into the past, an enduring message from a people long gone, but whose presence still resonates in the desert winds. As we contemplate these symbols, etched into the rocks and weathered by time, we are reminded that some stories, no matter how much we try to decode them, remain tantalizingly beyond our grasp. Could the petroglyphs of Toro Muerto hold secrets that are still hidden beneath the surface of the earth? Perhaps the answers are lost to time, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Or maybe the mystery is meant to remain just out of reach, urging us to continue searching, to look deeper into the landscapes of the past, where hidden truths may still be waiting to be uncovered.